the weakest talent. Have you heard of Senju? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, Demigod Chen Sheng. Brothers, hold on. The north is unbreakable. Kill. Thousands of miles of snow drifted, and countless soldiers rushed to the battlefield. A snow girl with a height of several hundred meters stood behind the army of alien beasts. It's the Snow Queen of the North. And behind her was an ugly fish monster. It has to be said that this scavenger is also a tough man, and he can survive. The evil king's death took Ye Chen and seriously injured Bei Junjian. Right now, the human race demigods are in seclusion, and only the Ice Phoenix Sage and the Space Sage are fighting against the two holy beasts in front of them. The human race seems to have gotten worse. The scavenger, whose body is almost immortal, and the Snow Queen, who is evenly matched with the Ice Phoenix. The collision of the two ice systems directly freezes all creatures within a range of dozens of kilometers into ice cubes. But this kind of battle made Zhang Binking a little unable to let go. The Snow Queen doesn't care about the creatures within her attack range, whether it's a human being or an alien beast. It's just right to kill it. Zhang Binking is different. She has to consider whether the large-scale attack caused by her battle with the opponent will kill her own people by mistake. Time passed little by little. A few hours later, above the whole north, blood splattered every inch of the ground. Is it human or alien? Not important anymore. The moment the hot blood touched the ground, it turned into ice cubes. In such an environment, injury is the end of life. The two ice kings were inseparable. Nighttime. Ye Chen woke up from the dream. The environment around him has changed. A peaceful serenity. After cultivating for a while, I simply built a wooden house, put the bed I borrowed from a certain hotel, and fell asleep directly. The cold sweat on Ye Chen's forehead was flowing, and the dream just now was somewhat real. The blue star northern front was broken. The corpse filled the deep ditch, and countless alien beasts stepped on the corpses of their companions and headed towards Desire. Wherever he went, no one survived. Why? Do you have such a dream? Is it me? Can't let them go? Ye Chen held his forehead and thought for a while, but he didn't come up with anything. Looking at the scenery outside the window, I realized that the world has changed again. During the time when he was sleeping, the on-hook cultivation method also improved his cultivation a lot. I simply found a hotel and added some supplies, take a shower, and eat a meal. Continue to start practicing. The previous dream made Ye Chen feel uneasy from the bottom of his heart. He needs to quickly settle the matter here and return to Blue Star. Time passed quickly, and the system prompt sounded again. Today's reward is here. Because the strength of good fortune hang-up breathing technique is a bit low, so I'll give you an upgrade. Ye Chen immediately woke up when he heard the system's voice. So, what's it called now? Super good fortune hang-up breathing method? The system is stunned. When will this person read minds? No. It's so easy to guess the name. I'm so embarrassed. The name of this system will be so random. Call him the Heaven's Fortune Hang-Up Breathing Method. Ye Chen. Aren't these two about the same? It's not the same. It's too low. How good is it to add all the heavens? The system said jokingly. Then the reward is here. I'll leave. You should be mentally prepared. Ye Chen is confused. The reward is here. I have to be mentally prepared. Then, as if nothing had happened, he rubbed the newly rewarded golden balls away. I saw a touch of golden light pouring into Ye Chen's body. In an instant, the situation changed. The surrounding spiritual energy poured into Ye Chen's body like a desperate one. Who I am? Where am I? What am I doing? Ye Chen's mind went blank. Isn't this aura flushing too exciting? Just how does the body feel? A little up, still a little sore. Bang. An explosion sounded, and Ye Chen turned into a blood mist on the horizon. The blood mist gathered together in an instant and quickly condensed into a human body. Ye Chen looked bewildered. Did I die once? As soon as the voice fell, the same situation happened again. When Ryuki saw Ye Chen appear, he lost control again. This time Ye Chen noticed the situation of Ryuki. Fuck, I saw Ye Chen turned into a super fat man again. Bang. The blood mist drifted away and condensed again. Ye Chen sat on the floor and meditated. Bang. The Blood mist drifted away again and condensed again. Ye Chen lay on the ground, and out at life point this situation continued until the surrounding spiritual energy was completely wiped out, and Ye Chen finally did not explode and died. 146 times. Ye Chen muttered to himself, a total of 146 times. I blew up 146 times. Who will believe it? Ye Chen burst into tears. This feels really cool, doesn't it? The physical body exploded. The spiritual body had not had time to appear. The physical body was fine again. Before a word was said, it exploded again, and it was fine again. However, such a fast cultivation speed is really astonishing. The fountain of life is too pervert. Obviously there is no aura bonus, but the vitality is so tenacious that it is difficult to die. After the body self exploded, the spiritual energy absorbed into the body remained in the body as the body condensed. In just half an hour, he blew himself up 146 times, rising a small realm, Bright Moon Realm mid. Ye Chen wants to cry, but has no tears. This kind of cultivation speed is so cool. But, how about you play Mario across the board? The one with infinite life. Although the process is painful, the ending is always good. With this thought in mind, Ye Chen started to move quickly. In rapid movement, it blew up twice more. It's 148 now. The system silently observed Ye Chen and nodded with satisfaction. Do you think he is satisfied with Ye Chen's energetic look? No, he is satisfied with a breathing technique that he upgraded at will. So powerful, as expected of me. Blue star, southwest. The midday sun was exceptionally bright. In this uninhabited environment, a tower rises into the sky. The metal material refracts the sunlight and is a bit dazzling, and the sun is the place where the demigods lived. The pagoda of human god was naturally not that simple. Although this tower was built by the demigod Chen Sheng, the interior arrangement was not his arrangement. On the top floor of the human god tower, Chen Sheng lived alone. For a long time, only Chen Sheng could enter alone. The other floors are the ordnance department, the medical research department, the substance department, the Gangfa department. All kinds of departments have everything, and everything they do is also for the future of the human race. Ask for safety. As Blue Star's only demigod, Chen Sheng is the safest beside him. Chapter 177. Hope. This time, Chen Sheng never told anyone. His lifespan is coming to an end, so he desperately wants to achieve the so-called divine position. How easy is it to become a god? Just like his name, his gift is immortality. He can live forever in this world, as long as he doesn't cultivate. Once you have entered the path of cultivation, your spiritual energy will enter your body, and your cultivation will skyrocket. Whenever the realm improves, his talent will be lowered by one level. From eternal life, to long life, to long life, to short life, until now, at the demigod level, his talent has become short-lived. Chen Sheng stood on the tower of the gods, staring at the sky for a long time without moving. Suddenly bowed his head and smiled bitterly. Fate. It seems that I have to say goodbye to this world. I don't know what the human race will do after I die. The body of a demigod has only a few hundred years of lifespan. It doesn't even live as long as the old gods stick. Good luck makes people. When Chen Sheng began to cultivate, he discovered this problem, and the vitality in his body gradually disappeared. His cultivation base was exchanged with his own vitality, and there were very few who really cultivated by himself. Use the lifespan of immortality to protect the human race for 300 years. I don't know if it's worth it, but there's no turning back when the bow is drawn, so let's go with the flow. When Chen Sheng felt that his lifespan was running out, he chose to retreat. He also doesn't know what will happen after he breaks through the realm of gods. Will his talent level drop again because his realm becomes stronger again, or after his realm became stronger, his lifespan has recovered? He doesn't know, and he doesn't dare to gamble. Ye Chen woke up again from the practice, and now he has the realm of the scorching sun. One step further, the so-called Holy Land. Brother Tongzi, by the way, I've been wanting to ask you something. Ye Chen habitually looked at the sky and said. The system was stunned for a moment and answered subconsciously, "What's up? How do you say it? Do you have a name?" The system was stunned, silent on the spot. The name, it doesn't matter. Ye Chen was completely speechless by the system's words. Not important anymore. Why? Ye Chen didn't ask, but he knew that his thinking system could hear it point. But the system doesn't say. Then there's no need to ask again. Ye Chen sighed deeply. He didn't know what the system was for, but Ye Chen knew that, at least for now, he had to become stronger in order to survive in the future. Let's talk about it later. Ye Chen, who was cultivating in the past 2 days, also explored the truth of some things. The Gate of Rules fights the so-called evil gods by cultivating the human race point, and those so-called evil gods are actually the gods of some lower strength planets. The Gate of Rules has been fleeing in the vast galaxy, so he urgently needs to cultivate a god of his own point. It is a pity that the Gate of Rules itself has one of the most fatal problems. That is, the people he cultivates will lose the qualification to become a god. But when the power of the rules is strong enough, even a mortal master with advanced rules can slaughter gods. So the purpose of the Gate of Rules is very clear. He wants revenge. Cultivate the human race and kill the gods and gods. Ice. Phoenix, what should I do now? Ji Kai and Meng asked worriedly. The northern front line collapsed, and the alien beasts did not know where to get the news. It is said that the human race demigods are breaking through the realm of the gods. If the realm of the gods is entered, there will be no other beasts in this world. For a time, the entire blue star boiled. This time, it is not only the sea beasts of the east-south blue, but the 8 oceanic sea beasts from the entire blue star and exotic animals from various regions. Daksha is in a state of crisis in an instant. Bei Junjian's serious injury has not healed, and Ji Kai and Meng's strength is limited. Zhang Bingking needs to fight against the Snow Queen, and the old magic stick fell into a deep sleep after the last precognition dream, and the deadline is not far away. And the demigods have never been able to get in touch. Of course Chen Changsheng understood the current situation in Daksha, but he couldn't make a move. As soon as he makes a move, the deadline will come immediately. In other words, his next shot will be when he falls. There have been countless casualties on the front line, and dozens of cities have reported cases of alien beasts hurting people. Some cities are lucky and have a scorching sun, but some cities did not have any protection and were slaughtered by alien beasts overnight. This series of news came to Zhang Bingking's ears. The current Ji Kai and Meng and Zhang Bingking are the last high-end combat power of desire. Zhang Bingking bit his lip, his eyes were red, and he didn't know how to speak. She is a saint, but after all, she is also a woman in her prime. The whole summer is on the shoulders. Easier said than done. Bei Junjian gave birth to a good son, and Bei Dishan brought several scorching sun realms from the capital city, killing all the strange beasts in the city. Finally stepped into the semi-sacred realm. Coupled with Bei Dishan's emperor sword talent, it can be regarded as invincible under the sacred realm. But it's not a holy place after all. In the current Daksha, half of the country has been lost. The lands reclaimed by the predecessors are being lost. Even Ji Xiaodo and Fang Qingshan raised their long swords, and Zhang Zilei followed Zhang Daosheng from Zhanghai City, which had been lost, to the southwest. Now in the entire summer, the safest place is the range of the Tower of the Gods. The Kangkyang Academy is located near the Tower of the Gods. When Zhang Zi came to Kangkyang Academy, he looked at the word Kangkyang at the entrance of the academy. As if enchanted, he stared at those two words, standing still for a long time. The phoenix egg in his arms trembled slightly. Ye Chen absorbed the aura again until his body exploded. He noticed that as his cultivation increased, the speed of his body explosion became slower and slower. It would have taken 3 seconds. It takes 10 seconds now. He could have rested for a while, and if the concentration of aura within a certain range was not enough, he could be immune to body explosions. But for some reason, he always felt that something bad would happen, and he practiced desperately. Die. Of course not, but the swelling pain, tearing, and consciousness when the body exploded disappeared in an instant. The spirit body is about to appear. The body is restored. If it wasn't for Ye Chen's mental endurance, he would be crazy now. But what is the so-called bad thing? Ye Chen asked again and again in his heart, and thought again and again in his mind. There's not enough time. You still have half a day. I'll give you the reward tomorrow, and you'll have to enter the Gate of Rules. The sound of the system suddenly sounded. Ye Chen was interrupted by the sudden voice, and did not speak. I changed the place to hang up on my own. Hopefully, This time, you won't have any more regrets. Chapter 178 Fragments of the Law of Heaven. Ye Chen didn't say anything about it and went to practice on his own. The system was also a little surprised, but didn't say much. After all, Ye Chen wasn't stupid. Every time he opens his mouth, it means that something unfavorable to him occurs. A fool would know this kind of thing, right? With an uneasy mood, Ye Chen returned to his daily life of self-destruction. Today's reward has arrived, and the rules are immune to shields. Ye Chen suddenly stood up from the ground. The time was up. The door of this rule has to be broken through. But Ye Chen's realm at the moment is still the realm of scorching sun. Seeing this so-called rule immunity shield, Ye Chen immediately understood. This is a line of defense prepared by the system for itself in order to fight against the gate of the rules. But for specific things, Ye Chen still needs to do it himself. Ye Chen opened the door of rules in the palm of his hand without hesitation, and the sacred and huge door of rules appeared in front of Ye Chen again. With an uneasy mood, he stepped into the door of the rules one step at a time. Respected powerhouse, it seems that you have already figured out what kind of rules you need. The crisp and moving voice sounded again. Ye Chen stared at the surrounding situation, not knowing how to do it. Seeing that Ye Chen didn't speak, the gate of rules spoke again. Come on, respected powerhouse, please tell me what kind of rules you need. Ye Chen lowered his head and said faintly, being the first person to step into the gate of rules in this era, has the right to choose first, right? Respected powerhouse, that's right. Ye Chen smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth, squinted his eyes, and said with a smile, then, I want you. The door of the rules is confused. What's the situation? What is this little potential ant talking about? What did you say? I said, I want you. Ye Chen smiled evilly. Raijin Jaka emerges in his hand, horizontally in front of him. Pull out Raijin Jaka with one hand. Bankei, the residual fire sword. The door of the rules at the moment. The mind is blank. It wasn't until Ye Chen's residual fire sword appeared that he reacted. What do you want to do? The gate of rules was shocked, and he had felt this hot feeling before. Flame, as a substance. In fact, it is also a kind of rule. Burn everything, devour everything, as long as the flame temperature is high enough, it is invincible. Countless flames were condensed in the residual fire sword. Ye Chen felt the power now. The benefits brought by the realm are not large, and it can be said that the increase is very small. Perhaps this is because the realm of these auras does not involve rules. I don't want to do anything. My residual fire sword, with rules, erase everything you touch. The gate of rules panicked instantly when he heard the words, respected powerhouse, do we have any misunderstanding? What do you want? You say, I will give it. The door of the rules sounded like begging for mercy. Ye Chen frowned. I said, I want you. You can just accept me as the master. The gate of rules was instantly silent. After the counting time passed, the gate of rules did not speak, and Ye Chen lost his patience. If that's the case, then there's nothing to talk about. With the backhand, the residual fire tachi was pointed down, and he was about to let go, and many more. Ye Chen thought that the gate of rules agreed. I'll give you my strongest rules, and we are not related to each other. How? Ye Chen laughed instantly when he heard this. Ah, you kidding me? Then I can only kill you, stupid mortal. As soon as the words fell, Ye Chen's mind exploded instantly. A powerful mental attack poured into Ye Chen's brain instantly, and at that moment, Ye Chen's brain exploded into a paste. At this moment, the system is watching with relish. Everything is as he thought. This gate of rules has all the low-level rules, including the rule used by Crazy Blade King before. It is also only a low-level rule. And the rules of immortality given to Ye Chen by the Fountain of Life, and the rules of destruction that erased everything possessed by Raijin Jaka are real high-level rules. Speaking of why the rules of Crazy Blade King are low-level, obviously it can be killed in one hit. Why is it only considered low-level? Good question. The current Ye Chen physically stood in front of him and let him kill for 3 days and 3 nights without dying. What's more, after becoming a god, the god body first appeared. This kind of trick to hack people's brains is useless at all. Seeing Ye Chen falling directly to the ground, the disdainful voice of the gate of rules came. It's a good seedling, but unfortunately it can't be used by me, so I can only trouble you to die. The system is speechless. Isn't the level of the gate of rules too low? It seems that there is no master even the rule of resurrection. Well, that's right. In the low level rules, there will be no resurrection point. The gate of rules did not find that the residual fire sword at the moment was inserted straight on the floor of the gate of its own rules in just a few breaths. The entire space of the gate of rules was as sultry as a microwave oven. Ye Chen sat up slowly and yawned. You're also a little yin who attacks your brain. I've already taken it. Your rules are used to be the sixth, right? What did you do to me? Why didn't you die? Impossible. You're just a mortal. The gatekeepers are stupid. Ye Chen was beaten to death by the crazy Blade King before, and then revived. At that time, the gate of rules felt a little wrong, but I didn't think much about it. After all, spiritual bodies appeared. Maybe this was just a more peculiar rule of his master. It is similar to suspended animation, and then a spirit body appears, and when the time is up, it will be resurrected, and so on. Point. But, did you go too far this time? Directly resurrected. I think you should worry more about what you're going to do now. Ye Chen faintly pointed to the residual fire sword inserted in the space of the gate of rules. I saw that the ground around the residual fire sword was extremely black, and it would collapse at any time, and this situation was spreading all around. Point. Hearing Ye Chen's words, the gate of rules said disdainfully, what should I do? Do you think this space is my body? I saw the system's voice suddenly sounded. Well, this is indeed not his body. His body is the dot in the palm of your hand. Ye Chen, gate of rules. Fuck, you said it earlier. I'll just give myself a knife from Bankai. How easy. You didn't ask. The door of rules is messy in the wind. The gate of rules. When the planet was destroyed, it was formed by a part of the rule fragments taken out of the rules of heaven. As a low-level rule fragment, it is not bad that you can grow like this. The sound of the system reverberated in the space like a god. Kill him, his consciousness is dead, and the rule fragments will appear on their own. Chapter 179. The secret realm comes to an end. The sound of the system made the gate of rules panic instantly. Point. Where did that ethereal voice come from? He didn't understand why someone was in his own space and he couldn't feel it. Who are you? What do you want to do? The sound of the door of rules is no longer as relaxed as before, but full of fear. People are always afraid of things beyond their own cognition, let alone the door of rules. He is nothing more than a fragment of the laws of heaven that escaped from a broken planet. Point. Compared with the above, it is not as good as the way of heaven, and compared with the next, it is not as complete as the rules. But there is one thing, the system can be regarded as admiring. This guy, fleeing alone for so long, he can still grow to this point. Me, a being that you can't understand. The sound of the system is steady and firm. Ye Chen didn't destroy the system's pretending time, but silently raised the residual fire sword and stabbed it into the palm of his hand. No, don't. I know a lot of rules. I can teach you. Ye Chen heard the sound of the gate of rules, and the residual fire sword in his hand stayed for a moment. You got one thing wrong. I don't need you to teach me. Then a knife stabbed into the palm of the hand. Ah, I hate it. You hate your mom. No, you shouldn't have a mom. With such a civilized language, you don't need to think about it. You know that Ye Chen said it. The dot in Ye Chen's hand instantly turned into a puff of blue smoke and disappeared. Point. The space for the gate of rules also dissipated. Point. At the same time, a strange shaped rule fragment rose from Ye Chen's palm. Point. As a small golden circle suddenly unfolded in front of Ye Chen, the rules fragments flew towards the circle. The task is completed. I will arrange a key for you to go back tomorrow, but your cultivation base cannot be left behind. After the system finished saying this, it immediately slipped away. Point. He now needs to quickly revise the rule fragments in his hand to turn him into a real rule gate. Point. You must know that there is also a gate of the evil god hidden in this fragment. Point. That is to say, many low-level gods from different planets are imprisoned just to train Ye Chen. Brother Tongzi, you just pretended to be 6. Ye Chen suddenly said such a sentence, but unfortunately, the system has disappeared. Point of course, even if you hear it, it's impossible to respond. After systematically studying the rule fragments, Ye Chen also returned to the state of self-destruction. Just a few minutes later, Ye Chen felt something was wrong. The speed of my self-destruction, isn't it getting faster? After Ye Chen said this, he exploded again. This side of the world. Xiandao silently added a buff to Ye Chen's head. Therefore, Ye Chen, who was able to absorb spiritual power very quickly, was now like a large water pump. Although for a world, more or less spiritual power is also very important. But Ye Chen helped him solve the gate of rules, and wanted to assimilate himself, and become the new way of heaven in this world. However, this world is now in tatters. Although there is enough spiritual energy, all kinds of rules are messed up by the gate of rules. The only thing left to help Ye Chen is the spiritual energy. So now Ye Chen's self-destruction speed is 1 explosion per second. Blue star central southwest. As the human race is losing ground, there are fewer and fewer places for the human race to settle down. The entire Daksha people shrunk to 1/10 of the original Daksha range. If the city can't live in it, then build a temporary shelter in the wild. The people are complaining, but what can they do? All the soldiers were on the front lines resisting those beasts with their lives, and Zhang Binking and Ji Qianmeng have not rested for 3 days. Whenever there is an alien beast from the Holy Realm, they both have to come forward to solve it. I don't know where the Snow Queen and the Scavenger are allies drawn from. The number of alien beasts has increased exponentially, and there are only so many human soldiers. Because of this, many scattered people with some strength have also defected to the battlefield. The days of peace and stability have passed for a long time, and it seems that life should be simple. But when I stand on the battlefield, only then did I know that peace and stability are built on the corpses of my compatriots. Zhang Binking stepped in the void, his face gloomy. Opposite her is the Snow Queen. As Ice Phoenix is Zhang Binking. The flesh body and the ice element are 2 ultimates, and in terms of strength, they are much stronger than the ordinary Holy Realm. It's a pity her opponent is the Snow Queen, who is also an ice type. This is also doomed. Zhang Binking can't suppress the other party in the relationship. As long as the two fight, it must end in a draw. And Ji Qianmeng is even more helpless. For this guy, the Scavenger, Ji Qianmeng has nothing to do. His regeneration speed is too fast, and his vitality is also terrible. Before understanding the principle of the destruction of space, there is really no way to take this guy. The other side's alien beast looked crazy, and the herd was endless. Although the human race is fearless, after all, the flesh is not as powerful as the alien beast. This is the cruelty of war. Little girl, the destruction of the human race is already a sure thing. You humans have an old saying, those who know the times are the best. How? The Snow Queen squinted her eyes and looked at Zhang Binking with a half smile. She also recognized Zhang Binking's strength. But Nahi's position is different. If Zhang Binking doesn't agree, then he can only beat the killer. Zhang Binking didn't reply immediately. A long sword was exuding cold air in his empty palm. Although it is a long sword, Zhang Binking has always used this long sword as a staff. After all, it has some effect that enhances the ice element. He held the long sword across his chest, his face heavy, not to mention that there is no possibility of this matter. With the thousands of human race compatriots behind me, it is impossible for me to abandon them. Zhang Binking's tone was very cold, full of firmness. The Snow Queen heard Zhang Binking's answer and admired Zhang Binking even more. A person who abandons the ethnic group is the one who should be most despised. You are very nice. I really like you. The Snow Queen smiled, and Zhang Binking was amazed by the beauty of the smile. But he came back to his senses in an instant. Then, I'll beat you up, take you back to the clan, and force you to transform your bloodline. After the Snow Queen finished speaking, countless icicles instantly appeared behind her and shot at Zhang Binking. Zhang Binking didn't move. His thoughts moved slightly, and the huge ice field in front of him instantly blocked the two of them. You should know that this kind of low-level measurement is useless, right? Zhang Binking said coldly. Of course, it's a pity, sister. I don't want to kill you. Chapter 180. 3 Steps to Sanctification. As I said, I only have one big brother, Zhang Binking's expression did not change when he heard the Snow Queen's ridicule point. Obviously, this is not the first time this guy has called himself his sister in front of her. Oh, I know, you're talking about your trash big brother, right? The Snow Queen said disdainfully, as if she was saying something simple. That couldn't be simpler. Zhang Binking has been in the northern border for many years, so the Snow Queen naturally needs to know more about her opponent. So, it's not just her father Zhang Daosheng, or Zhang Zilei's useless big brother. The Snow Queen is all clear. When Zhang Binking heard this sentence, his originally unwavering eyes instantly filled with murderous intent. Even if Zhang Binking didn't speak, the Snow Queen felt that Zhang Binking's hostility was getting stronger and stronger. Huh? Did I say it wrong? I'm 30 years old and haven't stepped into the mountain. It's not a waste. What do you want me to say? Zhang Binking raised his head suddenly. Shut up. The Snow Queen was stunned. This girl is very affectionate, but even if her subordinates died, she could keep calm and take care of the overall situation. And today she was angry for her useless big brother. You don't deserve to talk about him. Zhang Binking's face was so gloomy that water was almost dripping out, and the killing intent in his eyes seemed to materialize. The Snow Queen was stunned because Zhang Binking, who used to be like a fairy, now has a hideous face, like a ghost crawling out of hell. Yes, Zhang Binking has a bad relationship with her family, but that doesn't mean she doesn't love her father and big brother. No matter what, my family, no one can slander it. Oh, are you angry? So you want to kill me? Why did you kill me? With your ice element. The Snow Queen once again sneered disdainfully. With the long sword in my hand, Zhang Binking raised his sword and spread his wings behind him. Pulling the speed to ultimate, a sword slashed towards the Snow Queen. Your sword. It doesn't seem very good. If you want to kill me with this thing, I advise you not to waste your energy. It can be said that the Snow Queen has a very thorough understanding of Zhang Binking's strength, not to mention that the human race has been in a bad state recently. Zhang Binking was exhausted himself, and his combat effectiveness was not as good as before, so what did he use to fight himself? After saying this, the Snow Queen stretched out her index finger and pointed forward. Pole. Icicles. In an instant, a huge icicle fell from the sky and smashed directly at Zhang Binking. Zhang Binking frowned slightly. It was easy to dodge such an attack. It didn't take it seriously at all, and subconsciously, it flew directly from below. But suddenly found the Ice Queen's mouth with a slight smile. What? Zhang Binking was stunned. This polar icicle? Affecting my movement speed. Well, this trick is really tried and tested. Why do some people always think that I will use some meaningless tricks? The Snow Queen said jokingly. This move is his simplest move. Although the Yinren has a good effect, its attack power is mediocre. After all, it was just a huge icicle falling from the sky. Seeing that Zhang Binking couldn't dodge, he could only grit his teeth and face him. A huge ice wall appeared out of thin air, blocking the huge icicle. Taking this opportunity, Zhang Binking reluctantly avoided the attack. Huh. Good reaction ability. What about the next move? Frost Storm. As soon as the Queen Frost's words fell, a gust of wind instantly rolled up in the entire space. The gust of wind swept across Zhang Binking's cheeks, and a crack split open instantly, and blood flowed down. Zhang Binking was stunned. His brows were slightly wrinkled, and the cold air came out from his side, turning into a set of ice armor attached to his body. Oh, armor? Interesting, but it might not be enough to take this move. The Snow Queen is now playing with Zhang Binking like a cat playing with a mouse. Her purpose was never to kill Zhang Binking here. Instead, let the other side have no time to rest, thereby waiting for more exotic beasts overseas to join forces to exterminate the human race. On the other hand, Ji Qian Meng was also inseparable from the scavenger fight. It can be said that Ji Qian Meng can't break the opponent's defense, but the scavenger attack can't hit Ji Qian Meng. In this way, one person and one beast is like a joke, and the fierce battle has become a turn-based game. Space. Tearing. I'm fine. Look at my foul breath. Space. Transfer. I'll breathe again. I'll transfer again. Turn. Your uncle. I'll give you the thick phlegm of 1982. Nang. Your uncle. I will continue to transfer. What is flame? Temperature, substance, or Is it a rule? And what is temperature? What is matter? Zhang Zilei stood at the entrance of Kangkyang Academy, staring at the words Kangkyang on the plaque point. The word sky was imprinted directly in Zhang Zilei's heart, as if it had magic power. He remembered, when I was young, I heard the deeds of the demigods. Pointing to the word in the sky, he said that he would also become a strong man like a demigod, guarding the human race, in a blink of an eye. More than 20 years have passed. He has also slowly been flattened by life, and lost the heart of the strong point. If it weren't for Ye Chen, if it wasn't for the word sky point, it should be like this for the rest of my life. You think so? Fire Phoenix. Zhang Zilei looked down at the love egg in his arms, and stroked it gently. The phoenix egg in his arms trembled slightly, and a red light gushed out. The eggshell shattered, and a crack opened. A small head stuck out of the eggshell, and Zhang Zilei was slightly taken aback. I saw Hua Feng opened his mouth, and swallowed all the eggshells into his belly. At the same time, the spiritual energy in Zhang Zilei's body suddenly ran wild. Zhang Zilei was shocked. It was the first time he had seen such a thing. His eyes widened, and a fiery red beam of light shot up into the sky, illuminating the entire sky. Zhang Daosheng rushed out of the door, and looked at the fiery red beam of light on the horizon. That direction, is it spontaneous? For some reason, Zhang Daosheng had a hunch in his heart that this vision was created by Zhang Zilei. Without a word, he ran towards the gate of Kangkyang Academy. Zhang Zilei felt the aura of violence in his body, and helped himself to break through the realm layer by layer. His face was overjoyed, full of wonder. Everyone present was stunned. Zhang Zilei raised his hand, and gently touched Hua Feng's head. After eating the eggshell, the phoenix is already the size of a human. Zhang Zilei stepped out, his breath soaring. The breath of the starry realm emerged from his body. Zhang Daosheng stood behind Zhang Zilei, looking in a trance. Zhang Zilei took another step forward, and the scorching sun was already there. A line of tears fell from the corner of Zhang Daosheng's eyes again. Of course he knew how proud his son was, falling from the altar, how hard it hit him. Why didn't I feel sorry for him? Now finally, Zhang Zilei took the third step. The holy realm has been completed. To be sanctified in 3 steps today, you should kill thousands of alien beasts to ease the pain of my human race. Chapter 181. Coincidentally, this is ECHEN-039S. Zhang Zilei looked back at Zhang Daosheng with a smile and confidence on his face. Zhang Daosheng was stunned. Such an expression. How many years has it not appeared on Zhang Zilei's face? Zhang Zilei wanted to say something, but got stuck in his throat, and didn't know how to speak. Zhang Daosheng looked up at Zhang Zilei, and smiled. Eyes grinning. He's getting old. Go. Remember to come back for dinner, and bring awaken. Zhang Zilei was stunned for a moment, then nodded with a smile. A pair of fiery red wings appeared behind him, and flew towards Zhang, blinking. Sister, wait for me. At this moment, Ye Chen is still in a happy life that explodes every second. He never dreamed that the heavenly Dao society of this world would be so enthusiastic to treat him so well. The spiritual energy of the whole world is rushing towards Ye Chen. Fortunately, no matter how strong the breathing method is, there are limits. Otherwise, the self-destruction speed has to be accelerated. On Beijunjian's side, most of the injury has recovered, and the next injury can only be cultivated slowly with time, and it can be considered that he can go to the front to help. And the old magician is still in a coma, or it should be said that there is only a thin line of death. Shen Shangsheng stood at the height of the Tower of the Gods, and looked at this cruel world. The choice is yours. I have already explored the last barrier of the God realm, choosing to step in or stand still. Ice. Phoenix. That's all. The support of the alien beast army of our race is coming. What will the human race resist? The destruction of the human race is only a matter of time. With you only 2 holy places left, how can you stop the billions of strange beasts? It's not as good as this. You invest in my Snow Maiden clan. I propose to the major lords that, if you raise a human race in captivity, you can save your human race millions. No. 10 million. Keep your 10 million human race from dying. How? The Snow Queen made a surprising offer at this moment. Zhang Bingqing's clothes were shattered, and the recovery speed of the ice armor became slower. Breathing heavily, Zhang Bingqing stood above the sky, and straightened his back. The broken longsword was raised in front of him. The human race swears not to be slaves. Zhang Bingqing, who has been exhausted, has almost bottomed out in his spiritual energy. She is just a newly promoted saint, fighting a protracted battle with an old-fashioned beast saint. This in itself is very unfavorable to her, not to mention that Zhang Bingqing's control of ice is not as strong as the Snow Queen. Swear not to be a slave? Why don't your human race be a slave? With you and the old man next to you. The Snow Queen said mockingly. One finger pointed out that an icicle instantly appeared on top of Zhang Bingqing's head. At the corner of the Snow Queen's mouth. Her smile paused slightly, revealing a look of pity. Unfortunately, I like you a lot. Let me take you on your way with my own hands. The huge icicle fell towards Zhang Bingqing. Zhang Bingqing, who was already powerless to resist, looked up helplessly at the behemoth in the sky. A wry smile flickered on the corners of his mouth. I once thought that there would be many ways to die, but I never thought about what kind of mentality I would have when I died. Did you die smiling? Does it count? Don't count. Still very unwilling. At least let me replace a holy place. I'm sorry, I won't be able to see you for the last time. When Zhang Bingqing thought of this, the key that was supported in his heart suddenly disappeared. Fall straight from the sky. Ice. Phoenix. Ji Qian Meng noticed Zhang Bingqing's situation and was shocked. The power of space moved, intending to save Zhang Bingqing. And the voice behind him suddenly sounded, "You can't protect yourself. Do you still want to save people?" After the scavenger turned into an adult, his speed doubled, and he punched Ji Qian Meng. Ji Qian Meng frowned. Using the power of space at such a close distance, the scavenger will also be brought along, and the Ice Phoenix will be in danger. And if he didn't go, Ice Phoenix's current state was hit by that icicle, and he was afraid that it would be more fortunate than good luck. For a time, there was a dilemma. At this moment, a fiery red light from a distance flew towards the huge icicle at an incredible speed. When the fiery red light collided with the icicle, the extremely hard icicle was instantly shattered. A figure firmly embraced Zhang Bingqing in his arms. The wings behind him burst into fiery red flames, and Zhang Bingqing felt the long lost warmth. Slowly opening his eyes, he was greeted by a familiar face that he could no longer be familiar with. That face, which was supposed to be warm and kind, was now full of murderous intent. Zhang Zilei glared at the Snow Queen above the sky, and then looked down at Zhang Bingqing in his arms. The breath is dazzling, the spiritual energy is exhausted, and the body is full of scars. For a while, his eyes were slightly red. Zhang Bingqing stretched out his hand with difficulty, and touched Zhang Zilei's cheek. Smiling slightly. "Brother, don't talk, you have a good rest, and then leave it to me." Zhang Zilei was still laughing when he saw that Zhang Bingqing was at this moment. Immediately, he was angry, but he was reluctant to kill her. Ji Qian Meng was also full of surprise. The figure with wings blooming behind him. With Zhang Zilei's face, it is unbelievable in itself, not to mention that the other party exudes the spiritual power fluctuations of the Holy Land. Moreover, the breath of this holy realm has almost reached the realm of perfection. Then it's a demigod, and the Snow Queen was dumbfounded. Where did the other saints from the human race come from? And this powerful spiritual power fluctuation is stronger than anyone I have ever seen. Zhang Zilei didn't have time to care about the Snow Queen's expression, but flew directly towards Ji Qian Meng. Ji Qian Meng was stunned, and before she could react, there was a person lying in her arms. "My sister is handed over to you. Take her to have a good rest." Zhang Zilei's speed was drawn to his wit, and the flames shone like tail wings behind him. Covered with fiery red flames, he punched the scavenger with a punch. Fire. Punch. Zhang Zilei punched out, and the force that broke the speed of sound flew towards the scavenger with flames like a shockwave. In this world, except for Ye Chen's flames, I'm not afraid of anything. What a pity. That kid is dead. The scavenger laughed wildly, not wanting to dodge the punch at all. In his opinion, Zhang Zilei's flame in front of him is definitely not as powerful as Ye Chen. Seeing such a scene, Zhang Zilei turned and flew towards the Snow Queen. "What do you mean? Look down on me?" The scavenger got angry. "I'll show you today." Zhang Zilei didn't speak and ignored the scavenger. I saw the flame fist slammed into the scavenger and disappeared instantly. By the way, this is Ye Chen's flame, or this is the combination of Hua Feng's divine fire and Ye Chen's flame. Chapter 182 Other Reinforcement. Zhang Zilei's voice entered the scavenger's ears, and the scavenger was stunned. Not only the scavenger, but even the Snow Queen was stunned. That group of flames that looked gorgeous, but didn't have any temperature. At the moment of the explosion, countless tiny flames covered the scavenger's body. The scavenger didn't realize the seriousness of the problem, but just stared at Zhang Zilei's figure in confusion. Sheng Yan, Zhang Zilei thought silently in his heart. On the way here, Zhang Zilei learned about Hua Feng's situation. The phoenix itself is fire, although there will be aliens that turn into ice, similar to Zhang Bingking. But the flame is their family, the most powerful talent. The phoenix fire can no longer be regarded as an ordinary flame. In addition, Hua Feng used Ye Chen's flame during Nirvana, so now Hua Feng's flame, although not as high as Ye Chen's pervert of 15 million degrees, is still a million degrees high. Burn the scavenger to ashes. Enough. The scavenger died under such inexplicable circumstances. Before dying, he opened his mouth and wanted to say something, only to find that only half of his body was left and had not turned into ashes. Why am I not regenerating? Where is my immortal body? The deadly scavenger didn't even understand why. In the end. The Snow Queen stared at Zhang Zilei with a heavy face. That move just now, why, can kill the scavenger. This is also a very serious question for her. Don't you understand? Zhang Zilei suddenly looked up at her, his eyes full of indifference. It's just the use of the rules of burning all things in flames. This is one of the rules of Feng Huo. Zhang Zilei seemed to be explaining the situation just now to the Snow Queen. But this sentence suddenly changed in the ears of the Snow Queen. What does he mean? There are other rules attached to his flame. Why aren't the element rules fixed? And Ji Qianmeng swallowed silently. Fortunately, I didn't bully him at the time, and I didn't look down on him. Having said that, did you learn this coercion technique from Ye Chen, or self-taught? But Ji Qianmeng didn't think much about it. Since the scavenger died, now he should bring Zhang Bingking back to the Tower of Human God to recuperate his injuries. This is the most important thing. Zhang Zilei breathed a sigh of relief when he felt the fluctuations in the space behind him disappear. No one else bothers us. Let's talk. How do you want to die? The Snow Queen's face became very gloomy, and she was provoked and looked down upon by Zhang Zilei again and again. I've been very upset for a long time, but now I'm fine, and I still ask how I want to die. But she didn't dare to act rashly. After all, she didn't know why the man in front of her suddenly became so strong. Didn't you say that Zhang Bingking's big brother was a waste? Who the fuck gave the information? Do you call the person who kills the Holy Land in one move a waste? What's my name then? Waste dog. The scavenger's undead ability has been comprehended by himself. My own ice element has the effect of absolute zero, and I have not fully grasped it until now. The temperature of -273.15 deg. C is enough to obliterate everything, but she has only reached -200 deg. C now. This is not Zhang Daosheng's absolute zero. Zhang Daosheng is a skill. She is a rule, but the temperature that erupted from the flame that Zhang Zilei used just now was absolutely millions of degrees. Her -200 temp doesn't seem like much of a contrast. Excuse me, what is the current psychological shadow area of the Snow Queen? Although Ji Qianmeng didn't have much spiritual power left, the distance from the Tower of the Gods to the front line did not require much consumption at all. Quick, help me prepare a medical cabin. Ji Qianmeng hugged Zhang Bingking and shouted at everyone in the medical department. Tang Qingshan frowned when he saw Ji Qianmeng yelling. What's the noise? Disturbing. Suddenly, he saw Ji Qianmeng's scarred body and Zhang Bingking, who was dying in his arms, immediately anxious. This is the backbone of the human race. Quick, top medical cabin. Tang Qingshan instantly forgot about Ji Qianmeng's noisy situation. Shouted at the nurses behind him. Tang Qingshan waved his right hand slightly, and a sapling appeared, covering Zhang Bingking. The injury is so serious. What's the situation? The Snow Queen is too strong. She is also an ice element, and has a stronger understanding of ice. She tried her best, Ji Kai and Meng said distressedly. What? Now the front line. Don't worry, her big brother is here. As soon as Ji Kai and Meng heard Tang Qingshan's words, he knew what he wanted to ask and responded directly. Her big brother? Zhang Zilei. Nonsense. Ji Kai and Meng was stunned for a moment. Yes, he still didn't know about Zhang Zilei. He quickly explained. Don't worry, that kid's talent should be awakened for the second time. He stepped directly into the holy realm and killed the scavenger with one move. With him on the front line, it is very safe. Tang Qingshan was stunned, his mind full of question marks. Pig brain overload. Failed to react. No, it should be said that I didn't think about it at all. A trash that was deemed to be hopeless suddenly turned around and said to you, I'm in a showdown. I'm not pretending. I'm a saint. Just what do you think? The Snow Queen doesn't dare to move now, always feeling that she will be killed in seconds. How about I give you a chance to take the lead? Zhang Zilei said softly. The Snow Queen was silent. What? You don't dare to take the first shot? If I shoot, it will only take a moment to kill you. Zhang Zilei put his hands behind his back, and his tone was full of jokes. Ah, you insulting me? The Snow Queen was furious, but she was still wary of Zhang Zilei. Zhang Zilei sighed deeply. If you do, then within the Snow Queen's field of vision, Zhang Zilei's figure disappeared instantly. It's boring. I saw Zhang Zilei's voice ringing in his ears. The Snow Queen turned her head sharply. I saw Zhang Zilei standing behind her, holding a flame in his hand. Feng. Huo rage. Zhang Zilei pointed out. The speed was so fast that the Snow Queen had no time to dodge. It will kill you. The Snow Queen's eyes widened. Absolute zero. A chill overwhelmed the temperature of Zhang Zilei's fingertips. Zhang Zilei frowned slightly. But he didn't take it seriously. A finger pierced through the body of the Snow Queen. Bang. Countless flames gushed out from the Snow Queen, and a stream of blood also overflowed from the Snow Queen's mouth. Do you still have reinforcement? If not, I'm going to send you on your way. Zhang Zilei said calmly. A sneer appeared at the corner of the Snow Queen's mouth. Reinforcement? At this time, I haven't shot yet. I'm afraid I'm waiting for myself to fall. Just then, a feather fell from a higher height. The Snow Queen was stunned. Was someone really saving her? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183. Is Zhang Zilei male or female? Yo, isn't this the Snow Queen? Haven't seen each other for so many years, so you're pulling it. I saw the Snow Queen looked up, and a birdman full of white feathers was posing in a charming pose. The Snow Queen was stunned. She never dreamed that this little bitch would save her. Huh? What's your expression like? After all, we've been bickering for decades. I'm just afraid that you'll die and no one will quarrel with me, Shuang. She said with a slight smile. I didn't let you do it. The Snow Queen covered her wound with ice with difficulty. Sun dear said. Shuangshu's face is full of helplessness. You are seriously injured today, and my mother is too lazy to quarrel with you. I will be mad at you later. There's a reason for bickering with the Snow Queen. Although it is called Shuangshu, it is true that there are two types of Feng Shu. Every time the Snow Queen appears, her water system is directly unavailable. Of course, this is not the original intention of the Snow Queen. After all, only the ice element can be used. Have you had enough chat? Is it just you here? Zhang Zi looked at Shuangshu, who flew to the side of the Snow Queen and said expressionlessly, huh? The human race has already reached this point. Isn't Shen Sheng yet? The information taught by the beast god is quite accurate. Shuangshu looked around at the fire of war, excluding the scope caused by the Holy Land battlefield. It belongs to the double world of ice and fire. On the land, the gap is huge, and there are corpses everywhere. Alien beasts and people falling from the sky all the time. Stepping on the corpse makes it impossible to tell if anyone is still alive. Zhang Zilei was silent. This is also my first day of sanctification. How can I know about demigods? However, Zhang Zilei was not afraid, even if the Shuangshu in front of him was very strong, even stronger than the Snow Queen. So, are you going together? Or one by one? Huh. The little big brother likes to have sex together, Zhang Zilei. I saw that Zhang Zilei was completely speechless, and then his brows slightly wrinkled. Then, I will acquiesce you to choose, heads up. Zhang Zilei held his backhand in the air, and a long spear appeared in his hand. The flames are dazzling and dazzling, and the whole spear looks particularly imposing under the blessing of the flames. Zhang Zilei, who was holding the flame spear tightly, muttered to himself, no way, the move I named isn't as strong as Ye Chen, so just pick one. And that Shuangshu looked at Zhang Zilei with great interest, pointing to the flame spear in Zhang Zilei's hand. You plan to use this kind of thing against me? In her eyes, the flame spear in Zhang Zilei's hand was nothing more than a physical elemental attack. You are an expert in water, Yan Gun. Zhang Zilei roared, raised the flame spear in his hand, and threw it towards the Frost Queen. Fuck, is this thing for throwing? Shu was stunned, thinking he was using it as a weapon. I saw the flame spear spinning rapidly in the air, followed by the flame tail. Your flame is indeed strong, but I have just observed it, Shuangshu pointed out. Wow, a waterfall that appeared out of nowhere fell from the sky point, and with the control of the frost water crane, the scope of the waterfall is getting bigger and bigger. The amount of water is also increasing. The huge stream of water stopped in midair, forming a huge water prison to block the frost and water cranes. Zhang Zilei was stunned. He had seen water-controlled water, but he had never seen raw water. But he has some confidence in his moves. I saw that the Yan gun did not explode violently when it collided with the water prison point, but instantly penetrated into the water prison point in an instant. The entire water prison was like boiling water, tumbling frantically. Countless water vapors rose toward the sky. Zhang Zilei smiled slightly. That's what he wanted. In his mind, Yan spear should have speed plus penetration ability. This will ensure that you can break through the opponent's defense. Water prison? How to stop it? But Zhang Zilei didn't know that Shuangshu's move was called water prison. As the name suggests, please enter the urn. When Yan gun was about to break through the water prison, an accident happened. Boom. Zhang Zilei was stunned. The Yan spear did not directly penetrate the shield made of water as he thought. Instead, it exploded in the water. To be precise, when the Yan gun broke through the water prison, it exploded. You seem to have made a mistake, right? When did I say this is a water shield? Shuangshu smiled frivolously. Not bad. Zhang Zilei narrowed his eyes slightly. In fact, the moves he has used so far were all just thought of on the road. After all, you can't do anything yourself. You can only create it by yourself. I just accepted this power. I haven't had time to get used to it, Zhang Zilei said suddenly with a smile. A miniature version of the phoenix appeared on his shoulder. I saw Zhang Zilei said to Huafeng, in our first battle, why do we have to let you show up, Kang? Zhao Huafeng squinted and called out. Fly towards the sky. The Snow Queen and Shuangshu watched this scene, their bodies unconsciously exuding fearful tremors. This is bloodline suppression? Why is it so much higher than Ice Phoenix's bloodline suppression? The Snow Queen screamed. Huafeng. But the orthodox divine beast, the Ice Phoenix, is just a mutation. Shu also looked at Zhang Zilei's figure in a panic. Although his strength is not weak, this coercion comes from blood after all. Counting time has passed. The fire phoenix disappeared again, and a figure stood in a huge flame. Zhang Zilei walked out slowly. I saw that Zhang Zilei's hair had grown a lot, and Feng Che fixed his hair. Ye Chen, why do I have no hair with flames, but you will become handsome with them? A golden costume replaced Zhang Zilei's original casual suit, the wings behind him disappeared, and a fiery red feather shawl was replaced. She even put on eyeshadow and a beauty contact lens. The temperament has also become more extraordinary, and it seems to have an emperor-like temperament. It's a little weird to say, among the Phoenix family, Phoenix is the mother and Phoenix is the male, so the question is, Zhang Zilei's current situation, is he a man or a woman? Pooh. Is it male or female? Zhang Zilei stepped out, and the flames rose instantly, sweeping half of the sky. Have you figured out how to die? I saw that he opened his eyes slightly, and his tone was extremely cold. Who are you, Shuangshu? frowned. She had never heard of such a strong human being. Speaking of realm, Shuangshu has reached the peak of the holy realm point. When it comes to bloodline, if you go further, you will become a divine beast point. But the guy in front of him changed his form. It actually has the strength close to the demigod realm. Why? Zhang Zilei, you can call me Huafeng. Chapter 184, Transforming Without Doing It. ITN-039, S the rule. Chen Changsheng, who was immersed in his choice, suddenly turned his head. This breath, the new demigod. Is it boy Bei or girl Zhang? No. This breath has not yet reached the level of a demigod, and it is full of rage. Although the white boy attacks Ling Lai, his breath will not be violent. Zhang girl. It's even more impossible. Chen Changsheng was about to go in Zhang Zilei's direction, but suddenly stopped. If he becomes a demigod, then he will handle this matter. After all, it was the last trace of selfishness in his heart that made Chen Changsheng stop. On the other side, Ye Chen, who just came out of the portal, is still wondering. System, do you think we came to the wrong place? Ye Chen said, feeling the surrounding environment. In a barren environment, the air is full of violence and destruction. It seems that there has just been a war. That's right. It's time for you to save people. If you don't go again, it may be too late again. Ye Chen was slightly taken aback. What do you mean, go? All the way to the southwest? Don't hesitate, maybe catch up. After the system finished saying this, it disappeared without a trace again. And until now, no one has noticed a thing. That is, when the scavenger died, a person hiding in the shadow silently took out a glowing bottle and collected the scavenger's soul. Then he hid in the shadows again, as if he had never appeared before. Zhang Zilei's transformation also allowed countless human races to see figures in the sky. For a while, no one recognized who this person was. Until a voice suddenly sounded. Zhang Zilei? Lord Ice Phoenix's big brother. What's the situation? Isn't he unable to cultivate? Yeah, he's not a waste. Before the voice was finished, he suddenly covered his mouth. The figure in the sky is fighting against the two sacred beasts with one person's strength. What qualifications does he have to speak of? Others have endured so many years of ridicule, but still come forward to protect the human race. Zhang Zilei's voice capturing ability naturally allowed him to hear their arguments. The corners of his mouth twitched into a smile. This is my home, my parents' home, my sister's home. Protect the human race, or should I say, I'm just protecting what I hold dear. Attention, this time the Yan gun may be stronger. Zhang Zilei suddenly spoke, and once again a long spear with flames appeared in his hand. Shuangshu's face changed slightly, and he gestured with both hands in front of him. The water dungeon that appeared before changed its way again, forming a huge circular water column. Block in front of yourself. Zhang Zilei also somewhat admired this guy, and even wanted to take it hard. Hey, this time, the flame spear was not thrown by Zhang Zilei, but he let go. Behind the gun, it flew out instantly, as if a rocket accelerator had been added. The speed is so fast that it is in sharp contrast to the previous Yan gun. Boom. The Yan gun with extremely strong penetrating power penetrates the water column in an instant. The water column was penetrated by the powerful speed and power of the Yan gun and exploded instantly. Stupid woman. Use your ice and freeze it, Shuang. Shu is in a hurry. This is only 2 breaths of time, and it will run through the entire water column. I don't even need you to tell me. Absolute zero. The Snow Queen gritted her teeth, and her spiritual power poured out frantically. The huge water column instantly turned into icicles. Get out of the way. The moment Shuangshu saw the appearance of the icicle, he directly used the wings behind him to avoid the attack, and at the same time he did not forget to remind the Snow Queen. The speed is too fast. No wonder Shuangshu. That gun is really fast. Boom. The flame spear flew behind the 2 alien beasts and exploded dozens of miles away. A loud noise swept the entire battlefield, and the smoke could not disperse for a long time. Luckily this time, I escaped. What about the next time? Zhang Zilei said with a smile, holding a lance in each of his hands at this moment. Zhang Zilei's smile was like a demon in the eyes of the 2 alien beasts. Is this a skill? Is this a trick? Why do I always feel like this guy is just using normal attacks? He didn't even use up the spiritual energy in his body. Shu was a little anxious and shouted towards the sky. You guys, do you really have to wait for us to die before making a move? Don't worry, you are dead and they will be there soon. Zhang Zilei said with narrowed eyes. Oh, do you think you are strong? A voice suddenly came from behind Zhang Zilei. A dark arm stretched out from the black hole, trying to give Zhang Zilei a blow point. When that dark arm touched Zhang Zilei's shoulder, the fiery red feather-like cloak suddenly burst into flames. What? The arm shrank back instantly. Ah, you fucking stupid. You got someone else's half-dimensional ability? Shu was about to die of anger. Really, fuck is a pig teammate, and he hurt himself when he came up. That guy's flame is something that even the scavenger can't handle. Good to touch. I saw a big black mouse appear beside Shu. I forgot. The Snow Queen's head was full of black lines. This guy's your little brother. I don't have such a stupid little brother. What are you doing out here? Shu glared at the little mouse. I'm not afraid that you are in danger. The space mouse was about to cry and gnawed at his arm. Shu flushed his arm with water angrily. This big black rat can't do it either. Judging from the current situation, it should be quite easy to kill you. Zhang Zilei stretched out his hand and patted his shoulder, a little disgusted. If I had known that I had just escaped, the mouse would be very dirty at first sight. Is there any reinforcement? If not, prepare to hit the road. Zhang Zilei put his fingers together and pointed towards the sky. A huge flaming sword appeared above his head. Shu was sweating profusely, and the flame turned into a long sword of thousands of meters. What to stop? Rat, you take this little girl and leave. The space mouse was stunned for a moment and understood what Shu wanted to do. He nodded quickly, ran to the Snow Queen's side, and the space portal opened. Pull the Snow Queen to enter the door. The Snow Queen broke away with disgust. I will go by myself. Zhang Zilei didn't stop them. After all, his purpose now is to give his sister and Beijunjian some time to repair their injuries. Although he really wanted to kill the Snow Queen now, the bigger picture was the most important thing. Shu took a deep breath while facing the 1,000-meter long sword. You are very strong, so I have to use my whole cards against you. Zhang Zilei heard the words, and without saying a word, the 1,000-meter long sword slashed towards Shu. Although the guy's face was expressionless, what he thought in his heart was apostrophe I can fuck you. Still want to use trump cards? Eat my sword first. Shu looked at the long sword that was slashing towards him and was anxious at that time. Don't shoot when you transform. This is the rule. Chapter 185 Copyright Matters. Zhang Zilei showed no mercy to Shu. The kilometer flame sword even accelerated a little. Frost water crane beast is stupid. This person doesn't talk about martial arts, super evolution, just listening to Shu transforming into a beast and screaming in the sky. Zhang Zilei frowned slightly. Also fucking hyper evolutionary. Gotta kill you today. Thinking of this, Zhang Zilei always felt that the name he gave his skill was a bit of a joke. He immediately roared. This call is called Heavenly Flame Sword slash Shuang. Shu was on the way to transform, suddenly stunned. Good guy. Is there anyone who is more earthy than me in taking the name of the move? If we were of the same race, we would have to be friends with you more or less. Frost water crane's wings bloomed, and countless streams of water poured out from around her. I saw that her body gradually became larger, and the whole body was surrounded by a circle of water. Is it too late for you? Zhang Zilei, a straight man of steel, will not pity Xiang Xiu. What's more, the other party is a strange beast, and even a birdman. And many more. It seems that you, who are combined with the fire phoenix, are also birdmen. I saw Shu suddenly opened his eyes, and the breath on his body suddenly soared. The wings were waving, and a strong wind mixed with countless water currents blocked the heavenly flame sword slash. When the strong wind collided with the flames, a yin and yang diagram of nothingness appeared. Like a barrier, it blocked all of Zhang Zilei's attacks. This state, I'm using it for the second time, and every time I use it, I have to sleep for 10 years. So, cherish your last time, and congratulations on seeing me like this. Tae Zhashiyun's voice became much sharper in this state. She possesses a touch of divine aura. There is no other reason. Taizashuyan itself is a kind of divine beast. Forcibly changing from Shuangshu to Taizashuyan in a short period of time. Not only has to sleep for 10 years, but even consumes a lot of blood, and it will be even more difficult to become a god in the future. In this state, you are much uglier than you were just now, Zhang Zilei said, after looking at Taizashuyan carefully. Taizashuyan was stunned. She couldn't believe her ears from the first time she used this state. She discovered how beautiful she was in this state, but the guy in front of him actually said he was ugly. But if a maternal creature hears such words, it will be furious, right? Obviously, at this moment, Taizashuyan is accumulating his strength. What? Are you inferior to what I said? Seeing that the other party didn't speak, Zhang Zilei blurted out. Suddenly stunned. How do I feel? Like I've been infected by someone? No, I have to be a quiet and beautiful man, and I can't talk anymore. Rapid waves. Taizashuyan used all his strength, and his wings flapped wildly. Zhang Zilei looked carefully at what kind of moves the other party wanted to use, and he was very interested. Behind Taizashuyan, the underground spring water gushing from the ground frantically rushed towards the sky. After a while, a crane worker appeared out of thin air at the feet of Taizashuyan. Floating above the sky like an ocean. Zhang Zilei looked a little stunned. He lowered his body and tapped the water with his toes. Boom. I saw a sudden violent explosion at the position he stepped on. Zhang Zilei looked at the sea with a smile on the corner of his mouth. This water will resist foreign objects, Taizashuyan said sarcastically. What? Scared? It's too late, huh? Which eye did you see? That I was afraid. Both. I saw it. Oh. Then I'll dig your eyes out for you later. After Zhang Zi said these words, he immediately rose into the sky and swooped down towards Taizashuyan. Above the sky, water overcomes fire. Understand? Taizashuyan scolded. The sea under her feet seemed to be endowed with life and slapped towards Zhang Zilei. It even turned out an arm. Zhang Zilei dodged the attack without hesitation and mocked softly. Player, you're not even 1/10 of Ye Chen's fire punch. Zhang Zilei accelerated to the ultimate, punched out, and stopped instantly. The huge flame fist flew towards Taizashuyan. Such a move is useless to me, Taizashuyan said coldly, a thin wall of water rising from his feet. The moment the flame touched the water wall, the entire water wall was evaporated. Above the water wall, the yin and yang diagram reappeared, and the flame also disappeared. Zhang Zilei was stunned. This move just now could instantly kill the existence of a scavenger, but now it was easily blocked. But also, the move to kill the scavenger used a bit of Ye Chen's flame, but not this time, didn't. You tried just now. Do you still think my water is ordinary water? Stupid. Zhang Zilei suddenly realized that this was the case. I said, why can I block my attack with a small wall of water? You mean, are you strong now? Yan. Spear. Zhang Zilei threw a flaming spear with his backhand. Taizashuyan has floated away. In her opinion, as long as it is a fire element, it will definitely be restrained by her own water. I said it. It's useless. Another wall of water blocked the yan gun. Zhang Zilei's face changed slightly, and he could easily stop my second normal move, and the heavenly flame sword slash just now. It seems to use a stronger move. Flame. It will never break my defenses. Zhang Zilei was not in a hurry at all. A fiery red flame condensed from his right hand, but a golden flame appeared in his left hand. Taizashuyan was stunned for a moment. The colors of the two flames are different. Is there anything to say? And Zhang Zi looked at the flame in his hand and thought about it for a while. Silently put away the golden flame. After all, it was a little flame absorbed by Ye Chen by the Fire Phoenix. Although the current Fire Phoenix can use this flame, she does not have the ability to condense this flame. And now Ye Chen is gone. This flame can be saved as much as possible. Ye Chen likes to use a manipulative mentality, and I have never experienced it. Why don't you try it today? Zhang Zilei muttered to himself. His eyes suddenly lit up. Although I don't know how to move, I can steal it. Just do it. I saw Zhang Zilei clapping both hands. Burning Man technique. Senju Hashirama. Ye Chen, pay the royalties quickly. Senju Hashirama, none of your business. My copyright. Masashi Kishimoto. Shouldn't it be mine? Zhang Zilei. No, it's mine now. Point a smile. Hehe, it's mine. Taser Shuyan saw Zhang Zilei's inexplicable behavior. What did he do with his hands together? I saw Zhang Zilei's aura suddenly shine brightly, and the entire fire feather cloak exudes fiery red flames behind Zhang Zilei. A 2,000 meter tall flame giant volleyed and looked down at Taser Shuyan. Zhang Zilei was afraid that this guy couldn't fly, so when he painted the image in his mind, he even added a pair of wings and a long knife to him. Fortunately, Ye Chen wasn't here, otherwise he would have complained. Where is the fireman? It's a fucking flame Susanoo. Chapter 186. Ye Chen who wants to eat meat. Zhang Zilei stands at Susanoo, standing on the top of Burning Man, looking down at Taser Shuyan. His eyes were full of smiles. No wonder that guy always likes to make such a big guy out. It's too cool, isn't it? The Burning Man created by Zhang Zilei is like an ancient warrior, where the original skin was. The flames did not fluctuate much. But on the armor and the long sword, the flames danced unscrupulously. Zhang Zilei is very satisfied with his works and Taser Shuyan stood motionless at the moment. How does this play? Taser Shuyan carefully looked at the height of the Burning Man. If he wanted to make a waterman of the same size with water, that requires at least the water that he has just drawn from the ground, and then turn it up 10 times. Zhang Zilei heard Taser Shuyan's complaint and spoke silently. That's the one that you haven't seen. But if Ye Chen is standing in front of you today, you won't say that my 2,000 kilometer little guy is too much. At this time, Taser Shuyan's mind was filled with the burning people of 2,000 meters in front of him, and he silently glanced at his body, which was several dozen meters high, and chose to remain silent. Although the body of alien beasts is much larger than that of humans, only a small number of alien beasts have a height of 1,000 meters. Go. Burning Man. Return with Yan. Fire. Man. I saw Zhang Zilei imagined the way of using Yanhu in his mind, and Burning Man instantly understood. But this distance is returned with swallows. You are sick. Zhang Zilei was not discouraged when he watched the fireman slash the air one more time, this time with a blast of sword ki and go out. Taser Shuyan stood there and looked at Zhang Zilei with the eyes of caring for the mentally handicapped. Burning Man was also able to live up to his expectations. Using Yanhu again, a blade of ki flew towards Taser Shuyan. Taser Shuyan is speechless. You are very strong, I admit. But, are you sure you are not here to laugh? I saw her thoughts move slightly. A wall of water appeared again, and the same situation happened again. Zhang Zilei is a little annoyed. If this is absolutely invincible, then how to fight? At this moment, a voice sounded. Wow, so handsome. Brother Zilei, how did you become so awesome after not seeing you for a few days? I saw Ye Chen floating in the air, shouting at Zhang Zilei. Zhang Zilei was stunned for a moment, and a voice came from behind. So familiar. Seems to be Ye Chen. Zhang Zilei turned his head in disbelief and saw that familiar smiling face. On his shoulders is Raijin Jaka, with thick jet black hair and gleaming teeth. Zhang Zilei rubbed his eyes and stared at Ye Chen. Ye Chen. This scene was seen by Taser Shuyan, and this was a good opportunity. Instant shadow water drops. At this time, Taser Shuyan didn't care what happened to Zhang Zilei and the kid who suddenly appeared in front of him. Anyway, if he could make a sneak attack, he would just make a sneak attack. Ye Chen watched the guy sneak up on Zhang Zilei and hurriedly shouted, "Be careful." I saw Zhang Zilei glaring furiously. "Go away." Burning Man instantly slashed out a knife, blocking all of Taser Shuyan's attacks. This lost opportunity made Taser Shuyan feel a little pity. Brother Zilei, what happened in the past few days when I was away? You really Ye Chen? You're not dead. Joke. Ye Chen died so easily. Ye Chen smiled and said proudly. But suddenly thought of something and said instantly, you think I'm dead? So, are you crying? You must be crying. Are you crying? Zhang Zilei was speechless. This kid was still so ill-fated. But then again, what's the situation? Ye Chen pointed at Taser Shuyan, the space mouse, and the Snow Queen hiding hundreds of miles away. It's a long story, but you're so smart. You should know that the front line has collapsed, and now the human race is in a difficult situation. Zhang Zilei sighed deeply. What? About Sister King and Juggernaut? Ye Chen frowned. They're fine. They're a little hurt, and they'll be fine in a few days. Aren't you bullying too much when I don't exist? Tae-Shu-yun couldn't stand it any longer. These two people chatting directly ignored themselves. Zhang Zilei was about to get angry, but was stopped by Ye Chen. Seeing Ye Chen instantly appearing beside him, Zhang Zilei was a little stunned. This kid is still so strong. He didn't even feel the way he was moving, and he came to him in an instant. I've seen someone looking for death, but I've never seen you looking for death in such a hurry. Ye Chen stretched out his finger, and a green light instantly condensed on his fingertips. Wood style finger pistol. A piece of wood shone with an emerald green light. The speed was so fast that Zhang Zilei was a little shocked. Tips for carving insects. Tae-Shu-yun repeated his old trick, and a wall of water appeared in front of him. Boom. A strange sound sounded, like a drop of water falling into the water. Wood style runs directly through the water wall and the yin-yang diagram. Tae-Shu-yun stared blankly at the emerald green strange thing running through his body. How is this possible? Ye Chen broke the wood style on his fingers, raised his hand, and made a pistol gesture. A symbolic blow. Why is it impossible? Tae-Shu-yun used his spiritual energy to take out the items that penetrated his body, and the wounds on his body were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Zhang Zilei looked at Ye Chen with a strange expression. I was so exhausted that I couldn't defend myself. Can you just point at me? Since you can hurt her, then she will be handed over to you, and I will kill the Snow Queen. Zhang Zilei, whose killing intent was growing, set his eyes on the Snow Queen in the distance. Ye Chen looked at Zhang Zilei's expression with a bit of taste. What's wrong with this guy? He won't break you, will he? Are you so angry? Zhang Zilei, who controlled the burning man to fly towards the Snow Queen, almost didn't fall. You've just been broken. Brother Zilei, are you still here? Zhang Zilei, who just got up, was dealt a fatal blow by Ye Chen, so he shut up and stopped talking. Otherwise, you will be pissed off. Zhang Zilei flew past Tae-Shu-yun, but Tae-Shu-yun did not dare to stop him. After all, there is a more difficult guy in front of him. Tae-Shu-yun frowned slightly. If those guys don't come out again, I'm afraid they will die here today. Hey, where is your attention? Ye Chen's voice suddenly sounded in Tae-Shu-yun's ear. I saw a figure standing beside her huge ears. It was Ye Chen. Tae-Shu-yun was stunned. She saw and heard clearly. The guy held a long knife with flames. His eyes glowed, and his mouth murmured, "The exotic animal meat in the holy realm. It should be quite delicious, right? OMG. Who is this?" Reminder, Raijin Jaka has been strengthened, and he can use fire without shike. Chapter 187 Spare Food. At this moment, Tae-Shu-yun's body was dripping with cold sweat, which was very strange. As a water-type holy beast, it actually sweats, but there is no way whoever finds your enemy suddenly appears beside you. Holding a long knife in his hand, drooling and his eyes shining, he looked at you and said, "The meat of the alien beast in the holy realm. It should be quite delicious, right? Just ask, what do you think?" Zhang Zilei had no doubts about Ye Chen's strength. After all, the demigod level attack of the evil Flood Dragon King could not kill Ye Chen, let alone a mere crane or a water crane. What? Water beats fire. Don't make trouble. Even if Ye Chen's fire can be restrained, it is not that her water can restrain it. Ye Chen looked at Tae-Shu-yun's panicked expression and waved his hand slightly. Little guy, don't look at me like that. I won't eat you. Let's just watch her play first. Let's guess how many moves Zilei will kill the Snow Queen. How about that? Between the words, Ye Chen took out 2 pieces of watermelon from the system space and kindly handed one to Tae-Shu-yun. At this time, the psychological shadow area of Tae-Shu-yun cannot be calculated. Is it better to pick up the watermelon at this time, or not take the watermelon? Would he say, "I dare to eat my melon"? Or "Don't give me face, don't eat my melon"? The brief silence made Ye Chen a little unhappy. "Don't give face?" Ye Chen said gloomily. Tae-Shu-yun was about to cry. Holding back the tears, he controlled the water flow and brought the watermelon in Ye Chen's left hand to the water's edge. Ye Chen smiled slightly, then narrowed his eyes and took a bite. "Eat, you're welcome." Tae-Shu-yun opened his huge mouth and threw the watermelon into his mouth. Ye Chen smiled. Since you ate my melon, how about you let me taste your meat, Tae Zashuyan? Open your mouth and spit it out. Ye Chen continued, eating all that you eat. It's too shameful to spit it out. Tae Zashuyan wanted to cry, but had no tears. Did he vomit now? Still not vomiting. At this moment, a powerful airflow descended from the sky. Boom. The powerful key slammed into Ye Chen's forehead, as if it shattered the space. Boom. In an instant, Ye Chen's head exploded. Ye Chen. Zhang Zilei, who was hurrying aside, exclaimed. His mind went blank. When did Ye Chen become so weak? It was hard to meet again, but now, farewell again. Tae-Zashuyan. Did he die so easily? Then what did I just coddle? Zaro, I haven't seen you for so many years. Why are you so weak? Even an ant can't solve it. A voice came from above the sky. Tae-Zashuyan of course knew who the owner of this voice was, or it should be said, that when you see this move, you should know who it is. It is the Dappen bird, that evolved from the giant Kun. Oh, I'm not weak or not, but it's not something you Dappen can evaluate at will. Zashuyan did not appreciate Dappen bird's help, but replied in a very bad tone. This guy once wanted to soak himself, and was rejected by himself. There's no way this can be done. He was still a fish at that time, ugly to death. Who knew he would be so handsome when he turned into a bird? Although I regret it a bit, as a holy beast, I must be proud. After that Dappen bird heard Tae-Zashuyan's words. He was not angry. Above the sky. Spread your wings. The huge wings cover the sky in an instant. Tae-Zashuyan was a little shocked. This guy is stronger again. The last time I saw him, his wings were only a few thousand meters wide. Now at least 10,000 meters. Right there is a fish in beaming. Its name is Kun. At this moment, Ye Chen's voice sounded in Tae-Zashuyan's ear. Tae-Zashuyan was stunned and lost his head. Exclamation mark. Can you survive? When Dappen bird heard Ye Chen's words, it was a little floating point. Sure enough, someone still knows my name. Kunpeng. Zhang Zilei in the distance was slightly taken aback. Is he alive again? Okay, I will continue to hunt down the Snow Queen. Kun is so big that it can't be stewed in one pot. It turns into a bird. Its name is Peng. Pengzada needs 2 barbecue grills. One secret, one slightly spicy. Ye Chen spoke more and more vigorously, and as he spoke, his saliva flowed down. What caught Ye Chen's eyes was the huge wings that were several kilometers long. Ye Chen swallowed his saliva unconsciously. At this time, the Dappen bird finally reacted to what was wrong. What did he just say? Can't cook in one pot? 2 grills. And Tae-Zashuyan didn't know why, but at this moment, she suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. This guy has taken a fancy to Dappen's wings. Shouldn't he eat his own meat again? I don't know. Is the crane meat delicious, or the Peng wings delicious? Ye Chen thought, drooling. The anger in Dappen bird's heart at this moment can be said to be directly full, and he has never suffered such grievances in his life. Even the evil Flood King from East Blue would have to call out, brother bird, when he saw me. How dare you, a small human being, bully me? Ah, you looking for death? No, I'm looking for a pot. Ye Chen responded as he started to flip through the backpack space. On the side, Tae-Zashuyan silently took 2 steps back. Ye Chen felt Tae-Zashuyan's movements, looked up at her and said, where are you going? Tae-Zashuyan swallowed, looked at Ye Chen, and then glanced at Dappen. If you want to eat me, okay, but if you want to eat him, then step over you? Okay, wait a minute, I'll deal with you first. Ye Chen said with a wink. No, I mean, if you want to eat him, then you don't have to eat me. Ye Chen, you have no morals. Dappen bird, what a shame. Tae-Zashuyan, I'm a fucking crane. The air is not generally quiet, and Yun's voice is not too loud. But when there are all the big bosses in the Holy Land, does this voice have any direct relationship with how big it is? Anyway, you heard it clearly. And Ye Chen was also dumbfounded. The last time he saw such an interesting beast, it looks like the Lion King of the West Wind. Right? Ye Chen looked at Tae-Zashuyan with a strange look, and Tae-Zashuyan also looked at Ye Chen nervously. I don't want to eat you. It's alright. Well, prepare food. It's okay. I'll eat you when I get tired of eating Dappen birds. The first half of Ye Chen's sentence made Tae-Shu-yun almost cry with excitement, and the second half almost scared himself to death. And Dapping Bird looked at the conversation between the two, and his forehead was already full of anger. Your own white moonlight begging for mercy in front of a human. Can this be tolerated? Change who can bear it? Can you? I can't anyway. Chapter 188 Saseo Buddha, Palm Super Crit. The Dapping Bird said nothing. Another hurricane slammed down on Ye Chen. Ye Chen doesn't even bother to defend now. A qualified powerhouse, disdain to defend the opponent's attack. With this thought in mind, Ye Chen was headshot once again. On the other hand, Dapping Bird and Tae-Shu-yun were confused again. And Zhang Zilei almost fell down again and got his fucking head shot again. It hurts a bit. I exchanged 2 lives for yours. Is it worth it? Ye Chen's head quickly condensed again, raised his hand to press his neck slightly, and said to the Dapping Bird, "Why aren't you dead yet? Why should I die? You should be dead. Your head is gone. Why are you alive?" "I don't know. I just live." Dapping Bird was furious. "Since I can't kill you, then I will lock you up, throw you into the deep sea, and drown you 10,000 times. 100 million times. Huh. Logically speaking, I should be immortal now. You want to kill me? It's a bit difficult, Brother Birdwing. Immortal? The saints present were stunned. How can that be? Not dead? Isn't that becoming a god?" The Dapping Bird immediately persuaded. "Where the hell are you?" "Me. I'm just a foodie who likes to eat. It's a pity that last time there was no piece of meat left in the evil Gyro. I didn't eat it. What a pity." The names Gyro made the faces of the 2 alien beasts gloomy at that time. "Forget it. The chat time is over. Take off your wings first, and then we'll have a good talk." Dapping Bird's face changed dramatically. "Don't go too far. You just killed me twice. Why don't you say you're too much?" Ye Chen rolled his eyes and said. Dapping Bird almost didn't spit it out. "What's the matter? How did you die twice? Be yourself. Everything is fine. Just too kind. No. I can't always get it off. Ugh. Well now, if you are immortal, when you want to kill the opponent, let him kill once, and then you can justifiably killed him. So now the conditions are met." Ye Chen stretched out his hand and stroked Raijin Jaka, and the flames on his body danced happily. "Do you have any last words to explain, Brother Birdwing? Can I go to you?" In an instant, the situation changed, and the wings of the Dapping Bird vibrated wildly. Yes. Do more activities, and eat it later, so that the meat will not be too old." The Dapping Bird was so embarrassed that he had never been bullied so miserably in his life. Especially this kid. So fucking annoying. So fucking pissed. Ye Chen drew his sword and flew towards the Dapping Bird. The black robe on his body fluttered in the wind. Ye Chen didn't even release Shike. Stroking in mid-air, Ye Chen slashed out. The figure moved quickly, and several strokes were cut out. The tiny sword key slashed on the body of the Dapping Bird, and nothing happened. "Human, is that all you have for your attack? A small attack can't cause any damage to my huge body." "Ye Chen, huge body? Are you sure that your understanding of the word huge is in place?" At that moment, Ye Chen felt that he was insulted. His face was weird and depressed. "I remember before the barbecue, don't you have to massage the meat normally? Or I'll give you an emperor set." Ye Chen lowered his head in thought. Dapping Bird is unknown. Tae-Shu-yun left silently. "What the hell are you talking about? Don't quarrel with me." Ye Chen scolded suddenly, frowning. "I forgot all the cooking steps that I finally remembered. Massage first, marinate, then fire. What do you need for marinating? Onions, cumin, BBQ ingredients." Ye Chen muttered to himself. "The Dapping Bird is collapsing. Don't want it." The huge bird claws grabbed towards Ye Chen. "Give me death." Ye Chen didn't care about him at all. Raised his knife to block the attack. "Well, the idea is clear. Are you ready?" Ye Chen raised his head and squinted at the Dapping Bird. The Dapping Bird couldn't help but twitch in his heart, and he always felt that something was wrong with this person. After blocking the claws of 200 or 300 meters, Ye Chen instantly retracted Raijin Jaka. "Let's show you what a giant is today. It's up to you." Sage art. Wood style. True, several thousand hands. Back to Blue Star again. Ye Chen used the big Buddha again. Point extremely excited. And many more. Looks like I forgot something. Ye Chen turned his attention to the battlefield, where countless warriors were still fighting against alien beasts. Ye Chen frowned and put his hands together, slowly rising from the ground. With the rise of the giant Buddha, Ye Chen used the wooden dragon again. Dozens of wooden dragons broke away from the Buddha, and all the human races were taken away from the battlefield as far as he could see. By the way, I use the fountain of life in my body to treat everyone. After all, we are an auxiliary department. In that battlefield, countless warriors were weary and resisting alien beasts. Suddenly, a vine grew under his feet to bind him firmly, and then a crystal clear emerald wooden dragon passed by, and he was taken away. The aura on the body is rapidly disappearing, but at the same time, the vitality is constantly recovering, and even the wounds are quickly healed. Remember, this is Ye Chen's wooden dragon, right? Yeah. How did you become so handsome and suddenly feel a little uncomfortable? I really want to chop off a piece, take it back to make a bead, get a bracelet, Chang. Before the man could finish speaking, another man slashed down with a knife. Not moving. The wooden dragon looked at the man who cut himself with a knife with a dazed expression. Brother Long, do you believe me when I said I didn't mean it? Zao. Liu. From now on, you will be my boss. Do you dare to cut down Ye Chen's dragons? As more and more people were taken away from the battlefield by the wooden dragon, Ye Chen's big Buddha can finally be motivated with all his strength. The growth rate has increased exponentially. The 38,000 meter giant Buddha, well, the child is growing faster. Understandable. Ye Chen sat cross-legged on top of the Buddha's head and murmured, "Turn into a Buddha on the top." A wooden golem rose from Ye Chen's feet. The 38,000 meter Buddha vs the 5,000 meter Badwing Dapping. That Dapping was dumbfounded. What is this, brother? Badwing, do you see it? That's what it's called. A behemoth. The Dapping bird was stunned for a moment. God is a fucking giant. Ye Chen put his hands together slightly, and the Sharingan moved along. The huge Susanoo is put on the big Buddha. Everything is ashes, or la ashes. Raijinjaka. Raijinjaka. The flame bloomed behind Ye Chen, and was controlled by Ye Chen. A thick flame appeared on the hand of the Buddha behind him. Ye Chen grinned, and sure enough, if you have Lan, you can do whatever you want. Come on, my new move. Susa Great Buddha's Fire Palm. Chapter 189. Pink eye plus mental illness equals crazy laughter. That day. The sky is a little gloomy. No, it should be said that there are two gods standing on the horizon. Or to put it more bluntly, the Buddha and his bird stand in the sky. The dazzling light of the sun shines on the Buddha. Shadows hang over the earth. I saw several Senju arms behind the big Buddha, ready to go. Every arm was ablaze with flames. Emerald green Buddha with light blue Susanoo. The peculiar light made the remaining warriors fascinated. And the light was so beautiful, charming. I say this, of course, part of the reason is that the figure is so handsome. When the 10,000 meter wings opened, the battlefield had already exploded. Body size does not mean strong, but a large size can slaughter in a big way. But don't know why, the dead Ye Chen suddenly appeared again, and the 30,000 meter Buddha seemed to be even bigger. The fighters who survived the East Blue War were all full of respect. And that Dappin bird saw the thing that Ye Chen suddenly changed, and his head was blank at that time. What are you doing? Ye Chen waited for Dappin for a few seconds, and then heard this guy stammering out this sentence. Immediately, the whole person was not well, and he pointed at the Dappin bird angrily. With this finger, the big Buddha behind him also pointed his palm at the Dappin bird. Ye Chen shouted, "You are the thing. Your whole family is all over the place. It's a toy. You actually called me a jerk." The Dappin bird blurted out without turning around at the time. "No, it's okay. Then you're really nothing. Your whole family is nothing." Dapping bird has never been so seriously insulted in his life. I heard people say before that giving food a good mood before dying is also an important step to make the meat better. Ye Chen suddenly said this. Then, it's time for you to experience the joy of my iron sand palm. True. Several thousand hands turn into a Buddha on the top. Get it? Dapping bird. Dapping Bird was in a hurry at the time. Although his body was fast, he couldn't escape. Release the real body. As the Dappen bird screamed, the huge figure shrunk instantly. In a short while, the 10,000-meter Dappen bird instantly became a kilometer in size. Ye Chen was dumbfounded at the time, and both eyes were bulging out. You change me back. Change your uncle. Change back to find death. Give you one last chance. Change back. I only eat your 2 wings. You don't change back. I chop it up for you to feed the fish. Dapping. Bird's face changed again and again. Don't bully the beast too much. The shivering Taizushuyan, who was hiding in the distance, suddenly froze. Does this word seem familiar? Ye Chen was also stunned and pointed at Taizushuyan in the distance. Why don't you get married on the spot? She has said this word before. Taizushuyan and Dappen bird were stunned at the time. Is it popular to officiate weddings for alien beasts now? And then when the time comes, I'll cook the 2 of you in one pot again. Mandarin duck soup. Wonderful. In an instant, Taizushuyan was in a cold sweat and ran away. Why did you get involved with the old lady again? Stop for me. Ye Chen scolded sharply when she saw her leave. If you run over there, I'll kill you. Ye Chen's face darkened and his eyes were full of killing intent. Because the direction that Taizushuyan was heading was the direction that Zhang Zilei had previously chased after the Snow Queen. I'm running this way. Taizushuyan stopped, turned around and ran in the other direction. There are more suitable ingredients today. You are lucky next time. Ye Chen saw the other party leave so wisely, left a sentence, and let her go. Ye Chen has absolute confidence in who he is now. If this guy continues to commit crimes, no matter where he hides, he will die. What's more, now that the Holy Realm alien beasts have been killed at one time, what will they eat in the future? Right? As a human being, what is the most important thing? Is to have a long-term vision. The layout is bigger. How big is it? To be as big as true several thousand hands. And that Dappen bird also ran away, for fear of being caught by Ye Chen. After removing the real body, although the combat power is not so powerful, the increase in speed is simply a qualitative change. Hey, did I let you run away? Ye Chen clapped both hands. True several thousand hands finally moved. Thousands of arms stretched out from behind the Buddha, and each arm was full of power. Intense flames danced wildly against the wind on his arms, but there is no sign of going out. Dappen bird looked back. His soul was about to come out of fright. Fuck, so fast. You can hide, but you can't escape. I'm under true several thousand hands. Anyone else want to run away? Ye Chen controlled the entire giant Buddha to move wildly towards the Dappen bird on the land. As the giant Buddha moved, those strange beasts on the field were also harvested by Ye Chen. This time, Ye Chen, Sharingan ran to ultimate, and the urge to laugh appeared in my heart again, but I don't seem to laugh. Maybe I need a favor from the power of the void? This kind of thought appeared in Ye Chen's mind inexplicably. Say it too late. Do it. The power of emptiness was activated, and a wicked smile appeared on Ye Chen's mouth. Ha ha ha. Don't run away. Dapping. The Taizushuyan, who was fleeing in the distance, the Dappen bird who was fleeing in front. Zhang Zilei, who was chasing the Snow Queen in the distance, and the Space Mouse who escaped with the Snow Queen. And the stunned Snow Queen. There were 4 alien beasts and 1 person, and his face was stunned at the time. This guy, mentally ill. Taizushuyan swallowed. I can escape under your hands. It's really, I'm so lucky. How many days has this child been crazy? Zhang Zilei thought, while flying fast. And the Dappen bird is the most panicked at the moment. What am I doing wrong? Have to come out and pretend? Wouldn't it be better to hide in the dark with those people and watch the show? Well, it's good now. Life and death are directly in the hands of this kid. The Dappen bird flew in front, followed by several Senju arms, and the huge true several thousand hands was also moving quickly. Ye Chen, isn't it a bit too scary? It's scary. Yeah. When I heard Ye Chen's laughter, my whole body shivered. Afraid? I'm not afraid. The taunted warrior suddenly froze for a moment, just about to get angry, but held back. In his eyes, the person who spoke, his hands have been lost. You made a mistake. Alien beasts attacked my human race. My great saint of the human race is protecting the human race. Terrible. That's the emotion that alien beasts should have. The soldier who lost both hands looked at Ye Chen with firm and hopeful eyes. The countless injured people behind him, upon hearing this, stood up one after another and set their eyes on Ye Chen. Ye Chen, come on. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. The wings of 50 meters have become less than 5 meters. I will not eat these wings. Ye Chen glanced in the direction of the human race. His eyes were a little surprised. The one who said he was afraid should be the alien beast. Ye Chen smiled slightly. Isn't it just his hands? When I finish the matter, I will help you get a pair. The soldier who lost his hands was suddenly stunned. He always felt that someone was watching him just now. Is it Ye Chen? Not likely. Shaking his head, he continued to cheer for Ye Chen. Don't run away. Dapping bird, you can't escape. Ye Chen opened his hands suddenly and closed them again. Susadebutsu's speed has soared again. Behind the big Buddha, a pair of wings spread out. The moment the wings appeared, the color of Susa on the Buddha's body faded a little again. However, the speed of the Buddha has changed significantly. Stupid humans. Don't deceive people too much. Dapping bird roared frantically behind him. You have to know. I'm not fucking afraid of you. I just don't want to fight you. Ha 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 ha. I'm not afraid. Then what are you running for? It's said that Dapping spreads its wings 1,000 miles. Would you show me one? Ye Chen said with a playful expression. And that Dapping bird was about to cry, and the temperature of the flames on his palm was a little high. And why can such a big body run faster than me? Dapping, if you want to be sensible and obedient, just let me slap. Just slap me. Familiar voices, familiar words. Impossible. Give up your resistance. You can't escape. You give me one of your wings. How about I'll let you go? When the Dapping bird heard the words, he made up his mind, and he only had one wing left. I was stunned then. How could I possibly have such an idea? Impossible. It is impossible to hand over a wing to death. It seems that you refused. A huge palm with flaming flames passed by Dapping bird and slapped it on a high mountain in an instant. Bump. A mountain collapsed in an instant. Boulders splashed and flames covered the entire forest. If this forehead is touched once, I'm afraid that the Alzheimer's will be beaten out directly. Right. Is it too late for me to surrender now? The Dapping bird trembled with fright. Another slap swiped, this time touching Dapping's left wing. In that instant, Dapping bird lost its balance by being slapped by this huge slap. Yo, what are you thinking? If that's the case, then please be my food. Ye Chen, under the mask of emptiness, almost shoved his mouth into a fist with a smile. Dapping bird's head was buzzing at the moment, and two words emerged in his mind. Will die. Yes, just rubbing it lightly makes me lose control. If you get a slap in the face, and this feather is fire free, but a gap was burned by this strange flame. Why? If nothing else, if you are slapped now, you will change from a hairy Dapping bird to a hairless Dapping bird. Fortunately, Ye Chen couldn't hear these words, otherwise he would have laughed. Well, plucking hair is too much trouble. Just when Dapping bird was thinking about these things, suddenly there was a sound of breaking wind behind him. Fuck. Dapping bird's eyes were always on, and his body became smaller again. This time he directly transformed into a human form. He flapped his wings frantically, dodging Ye Chen's attack. Ye Chen was stunned and suddenly stood up from the top of wooden golem. Staring at Dapping in the distance. His eyes were full of killing intent. 5,000 meter wings. Now there's not even 5 meters. Dapping bird did not realize the seriousness of the matter at this moment. Ye Chen's hands were slightly knotted. Wood style. Wood clone. Wood clone, who stuck his head out from behind Ye Chen, was stunned. Yo, what's the situation? How about using the big Buddha to call me out? The main body. Ye Chen took a step forward, pulled out the Raijin Jaka, and smiled slightly towards the clone Ye Chen. Ye Chen, under the mask of emptiness, is now in extreme rage. Susa Debutsu is under your control. After saying this, The main body Ye Chen jumped up an arm and walked towards the Dappen bird in the distance. The clone Ye Chen looked at this scene and suddenly became a little excited. And what about this good thing? Go out to play Big Buddha. He sat down on wooden golem's head with great interest and started an operation. And Dappen bird was still trying his best to avoid Ye Chen's attack. Although it was a little difficult to hide, at least there was no beating. That's it. I thought it was so strong. As long as I was fast, he couldn't hit me. Dappen bird, who was concentrating on avoiding the attack, said relentlessly. Just as he finished saying those words, there was a chill behind his back. You're dead. It's useless for King Yama to plead, I said. Ye Chen squatted on Woodstyle's arm and took off the mask on his face with his left hand. The twisted facial features directly hit the young heart of the Dappen bird. It's a pity I can't eat bad wings today. Ye Chen stood up abruptly. Dappen bird looked at Ye Chen and lost his mind. Bang. Big Buddha touches his head. In an instant, the Dappen bird was shot and flew out. Yeah. Hit. Come again. The clone Ye Chen shouted frantically. The main body Ye Chen gave him a good job expression. Bankai. Remnant. Fire sword. Ye Chen held the residual fire sword, jumped off the wood style, and flew towards the Dappen bird that was photographed into the ground. Strange. Why is it getting hotter and hotter? Dappen bird muttered. While lying at the bottom of the pit. Throwing his eyes to the sky, he saw a figure exuding surging flames, like a fireball flying towards him. That's the trick of Kanho Tadeo West cannibal prison clothes, which covers the body with 15 million degrees of high temperature. You give me back the 5-kilometer bad wings. Ye Chen swung down with a knife. Remnant fire sword. North. Ashes of heaven and earth. A knife gas turned into flames and flew towards the Dappen bird. For some reason, Dappen Neo panicked. I always feel that if I eat this trick, I will die. Looking at Ye Chen's figure, Dappen bird's mind twitched. Using both hands and wings, he dug a hole like a plow and escaped. The ashes of heaven and earth fell to the ground, instantly turning the ground into a piece of magma. Ye Chen fell down with a confused look on his face. Did the Dappen bird dig a hole just now? Isn't he a bird? Why punch holes? P.S. Someone said I have a manuscript. Laugh to death. Not at all. I'm such a close follower of current affairs. How could there be a manuscript? You say yes! Exclamation mark. Chapter 191. One sword breaks through the sky. Ye Chen was stunned by this one-handed operation of Dappen bird. The previous depression was immediately swept away. Amused by the Dappen bird. Brother bird, have you studied at the excavator school? After the Dappen bird avoided the ashes of heaven and earth, it ran all the way, just to escape Ye Chen's attack range. That terrifying temperature is really hard to resist. What's more, Ye Chen was chasing after him like a god of fire at the moment, saying something that he couldn't understand at all. I didn't expect you to be so eager to learn, brother bird, and you still take time to learn other skills. Then I have to say a few words to you. What is the most important thing in the current society? It must be education, brother. But do you want to know about it? By taking the undergraduate entrance exam. Trust me, I, Ye Chen, do things and never cheat people. I guarantee that you will be able to raise your education to an undergraduate degree through your unremitting efforts. As long as you get an undergraduate degree, it's not difficult to get a job, and you can go to the pinnacle of your life from now on. Ye Chen was chasing the Dappen bird, waving the residual fire sword, and chatting a lot. Noisy. I'm a fucking beast, not a human. You die for me. The wind blows the clouds. After all, the Dappen bird couldn't bear it anymore. This guy is simply a talker, and shouting words that I don't understand every day. Immediately, the wings fanned wildly, and 2 tornadoes appeared in an instant. Hey, you don't fit the science. You can make a tornado while flying? Ye Chen frowned slightly, a little puzzled. You fucking tell me about science? Laozi is a holy beast. Do you understand the holy beast? Dappen bird was going crazy. Who the hell are you talking to? So what are you doing? Believe it or not, the young master chopped you up. Say, as if I'm not fierce, you can let me go. One person and one beast. You said one sentence to another. Ye Chen is also in a hurry. What should I do if the speed is too slow? For these wine type escape monsters, I really have no temper at all. Run if you can't beat it. Dapping bird flew in front. Ye Chen chased behind with a ball of fire, followed by several Senju arms and a big Buddha point. That scene is a bit impossible to dream of. Remnant. Fire sword north. Ashes of heaven and earth. There is no other way, and now only this move can pose a threat to the opponent. Dapping bird is sweating coldly. Is this another trick? In order to avoid this trick before, he also acted as a groundhog once. The powerful flame of the ashes of heaven and earth pierced through the two tornadoes instantly. Fly towards the dapping bird quickly. Under this move, the violent tornado had no resistance at all and dissipated directly. The dapping bird fluttered its wings and flew towards the sky. The sudden sharp turn made the ashes of heaven and earth flutter into the air. At this moment, the dapping bird has been cornered by Ye Chen. As an alien beast whose body is the main trainer, its huge stature is his advantage point. But in front of Ye Chen, this body type has become a disadvantage. In terms of attack, he also belongs to the wind control, and the attack will have a cutting effect. How can this kid survive twice after dying? The size can't compare, the attack can't compare. Only in terms of speed is it a bit ahead. So, there is only one way. That is escape. I saw dapping bird's speed getting faster and faster, rushing straight towards the direction of the sun. Ye Chen was stunned. The figure of the dapping bird gradually disappeared under the cover of sunlight. The powerful light made Ye Chen couldn't help blinking. When he opened his eyes again, a figure appeared in Ye Chen's sight. The figure stood with his hands behind his back, his wrists rotated once, and his sword fingers slashed down. One sword. Kill the gods. I saw that the long sword floating beside him also made the same action as his sword fingers slashed. Just as the long sword was swung, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. Thousands of miles of clear sky instantly condensed a phantom, which was 10,000 meters long and gradually formed a sword shape. What is this? Dapping exclaimed as he looked at the sword shadow behind him in shock. Juggernaut? Ye Chen also blinked and said incredulously. That 10,000 meter sword shadow fell with one sword. The wind suddenly stopped. The mountains and rivers faded. Boom, boom. A sword fell, and blood gushed out of Beijun's sword mouth. Ye Chen was stunned for a moment, then quickly dismissed Bankai and stepped forward to protect Beijunjian. Beijunjian was relieved to see Ye Chen standing in front of him. A sword broke through 100,000 miles. The huge air pressure raised the surrounding mountains to the ground like a god. Not to mention the surrounding trees. Even the big Buddha and the clone Ye Chen, who were affected by the air pressure not far away. The loss was not small, as the Buddha lost hundreds of arms and the clone Ye Chen couldn't stop the pressure and disappeared directly. Losing the control of the clone, the Buddha also silently sneaked into the ground. After hundreds of breaths, the space fell silent. A gully of 1,000 meters appeared in front of Ye Chen, and Ye Chen looked at the gully with great interest. Like a cliff, the stones above are still falling down. On both sides of the gully, it can be said that Beijunjian created a plane hundreds of miles with one sword. Above the sky, the white clouds that were divided into two by the sword energy had not had time to close. Ye Chen watched this scene and couldn't forget it for a long time. It's true that he is strong, but one sword has such an effect, it seems a bit difficult. Returning to his senses, Ye Chen grabbed Beijunjian with one hand, mobilized the fountain of life in his body to help Beijunjian stabilize his breath, and joked, "TSK TSK TSK. Are you doing full attack? No defense." Ye Chen is joking. This is only the second time I've used it. The last time I used it, I almost killed myself. I thought I was going to die this time. Beijunjian smiled bitterly for the rest of his life and suddenly felt the inside of his body. The injury is being healed quickly. He looked at Ye Chen in surprise and blurted out, "Are you really an assistant?" "I was originally an assistant, but to be honest, your physical fitness is a bit too low." Ye Chen rolled his eyes helplessly. "Swordsman, one sword is enough." Junjian's words made Ye Chen stunned. He is a qualified swordsman, but Ye Chen disagrees. People have different choices, right? Thinking of this, Ye Chen suddenly remembered that Beijunjian had been attacked by the evil Flood King so many times and couldn't help but muttered to himself, "Thank you for being able to survive until now under the evil Flood King's sneak attack." That Bei Junjian's face darkened. There was one more thing he didn't tell Ye Chen. That's when he doesn't use the gentleman's sword. His body is guarded by the sword energy of the gentleman's sword. Unless the attack power is stronger than Jun Zijian, it will be very difficult to break the defense. However, Ye Chen didn't ask any more questions and turned to look at the Dappen bird that had been beaten back to its prototype under the 1,000-meter cliff. You take a break first, and I'll chop up that guy first. Chapter 192. The Dappen wings are finally available. Bei Junjian nodded silently when he heard Ye Chen's words. Ye Chen's treatment just now healed the wound from the sneak attack by the evil Flood King, not to mention the fact that he was oppressed by the air pressure of his own sword just now. Just a joke. I almost got killed by the Yue of my own move. However, there is not much spiritual energy left in the body, and the aura is almost at the bottom when the sword goes all out. TSK. Juggernaut, this move is quite handsome. G. Kian Meng suddenly jumped out, squinting his eyes and smiling. Handsome is quite handsome. I almost put myself in. Bei Junjian said weakly. G. Kian Meng grabbed Bei Junjian's shoulder. Let's go. Go back to the temporary residence first, and then leave it to Ye Chen. Bei Junjian nodded, and the two stepped into the space store. When Ji Kian Meng came with Bei Junjian before, the two were silent for a while. Ji Kian Meng thought she was dreaming, so she silently slapped herself. The on-site dialogue is probably like this: am I dead? Or am I dreaming? Crack. Ji Kian Meng slapped himself, a little painful, as if it was true. Then he turned his gaze to Bei Junjian, who was thinking. Bei Junjian silently stretched out his hand to block Ji Kian Meng's slap, and said with a gloomy expression, "You can hit yourself. You can. Don't hit me." Then the two found that Ye Chen didn't seem to be able to catch up with the big bird, so there was the scene just now. Juggernaut kills the big bird with one sword, and the handsome batch is really awesome. Ye Chen flew down the artificial cliff and found the Dappen bird that had been beaten back to its original shape. Although there is only a kilometer-sized prototype, Ye Chen is already drooling. Didn't expect such a good thing. I thought I couldn't eat it today. Under the crack hundreds of meters wide, the Dappen bird has a body of 1,000 meters. As you can imagine, this guy was stuck to death. The depth is 1 or 2 kilometers. The width is several hundred meters. The Dappen bird is only a few hundred meters high. That is, the wings are larger. Ye Chen released the power of void and put Raijin Jaka into the scabbard. He walked slowly to the Dappen bird, jumped up, jumped to the top of the Dappen bird, raised his small hand and slapped it on the brain gate of the Dappen bird. Run away. Keep running away. One sentence directly made the dying Dappen bird almost suffocate. You don't bully the bird too much. At this moment, the Dappen bird took down the sword head on. Hundreds of bones were broken off, and even the internal organs were injured a lot, and it was difficult to speak. Ye Chen looked at the appearance of the Dappen bird and sighed deeply. For your poor sake, I'll send you to death. There's no need to thank me, Dappen. But Raijin Jaka pulled out instant shike. The hand raised the knife and fell, and the sword key cut off the wings of the Dappen bird. The huge pain made Dappen Neo a little overwhelmed, but instead of shouting, he stared at Ye Chen. Lord, God will not let you go. Ye Chen put the two huge wings into the system space, frowning slightly. God, you let him come. If he dares to take me a knife, I will respect him as a man. Ye Chen said disdainfully. You, what? Am I? You should die quickly. Ye Chen slashed out impatiently. The bird's head is separated, and the overlord of one party, the Holy Land Dapping, has fallen. Ye Chen opened the enhancement panel. Shen, Holy Realm beasts, only 200 million. However, with the addition of the bloody beasts harvested on the battlefield, the total points are now 800 million. It can be strengthened by killing another holy beast. Ye Chen looked at the mountain-like Dappen bird and fell into contemplation, but he still put the body into the system space. After all, the sacred animal meat, how do you think it should be a big supplement? Can't be wasted. When Ye Chen settled the matter and returned to Ji Kian Meng, he didn't say anything. Zhang Jiraiya is back with a grey head and a grey face. After all, that mouse is from the space department, so it can run away. The four finally met again. Ye Chen looked at Ji Kian Meng and Zhang Zilei with a grin. How's it going? Miss me? Ji Qian Meng angrily gave Ye Chen an intimate greeting. Hey, it doesn't hurt, Ye Chen said with a smile. Ji Qian Meng rolled her eyes and changed the subject. How did you survive, boy? Well, that's a long story. Then make a long story short. Oh, just do this first, then that, and then do this, and survive. Speak human words. Ji Qian Meng growled. I hid in the secret realm. Ye Chen's face is speechless. Fierce or fierce? Just say it. Zhang Zilei and Bei Junjian, who were on the side, looked at the old and young, and couldn't help laughing. Ye Chen rolled his eyes. Actually, I want to know more. Brother Zilei, your strength. Zhang Zilei was taken aback. F***CK. Is the topic pulling me here? Ye Chen's eyes are full of kind smiles. This trick is called misfortune. Sure enough, the group instantly turned their attention to Zhang Zilei. Well, my talent is nirvana, and then the aura accumulated before is fed back all of a sudden, and then it's sanctified? X3 the three said in unison, especially Bei Junjian. The twitching beating of the corners of the eyes can be used as Morse code. This practice is like a joke. Ye Chen muttered, and then grinned again. Brother Zilei, your clothes. So festive, but it's pretty cool. Where did you buy it? Pinduoduo. 9 new and 9 free shipping. Not bad. Give me a whole set next time. Zhang Zilei was speechless, and the fengli on his body was instantly withdrawn. That garish decoration turned into flames and rushed towards the phoenix hairpin on his head. The hair also returned to its original length, and a miniature fire phoenix stood on top of Zhang Zilei's head, with its head held high. Seeing this strange scene, Ye Chen couldn't help but stretched out his hand and poked the phoenix. Is this what the egg hatched from? Ji Qian Meng saw that Ye Chen moved the fire phoenix and couldn't help but reach out and touch it, but the fire phoenix slapped off her little hand with one wing. Why, Ye Ziozi will be fine if you touch it, but if I touch it, it will not work. Ji Qian Meng said depressedly. Zhang Zilei was stunned for a moment, because Hua Feng relied on Ye Chen's flame to nirvana. I think it should be like this. When Ye Chen heard this, he suddenly remembered that someone once put an ice cube next to Hua Feng and said that it had a reaction. At that moment, Ye Chen's eyes were all weird. By the way, why does Ye Ziozi use fire? His hair will burn out, but if you use fire, hair will grow longer? Ji Qian Meng finally asked the question that made Ye Chen doubt his life. Yes? Why? Why? Ye Chen suddenly shouted. In the end, everyone's laughter returned to the Tower of Man God. This time, the battle was a complete victory. The Dappen bird died, and the Snow Queen was seriously injured. On the other hand, after Ye Chen's treatment, everything is getting better. Chapter 193 Titanium Alloy Dog. Super Evolution. Kim Killin. Ye Chen's return made everyone happy and won in this short battle. This made the entire human race once again raise the hope of living. But the gap in strength is really too big. Once the Holy Realm fights, others will have to retreat. Therefore, under normal circumstances, it is not easy to take action in the Holy Land unless it is a last resort. And the reason for the frequent shots of alien beasts in the Holy Land recently is more obvious. With Chen Shangsheng's retreat, the human race itself was at a disadvantage. If the demigods do not appear, it is the best chance to destroy the human race. It is for this reason that the alien beast kings all over Blue Star also opened their eyes one after another. After absorbing spiritual energy from them, the first sentence that came to mind was, destroy the human race. Although it is an exotic beast, there are also many atavistic beasts like Dappen. But they can never step into the demigod realm. Because they don't have the blood of real beasts. Do they want to become gods? Wishful thinking. The human race is different. The potential is strong, although the lifespan is relatively short, as there are more and more powerful people in the Holy Realm. Sooner or later, there will be a second human being in the demigod realm. So the moment Chen Shangsheng retreated was their best chance. If Chen Shangsheng steps into the realm of the gods, there will be no sacred beasts in this world. In the void, several human-shaped shadows hid in the dark and whispered, what do you think of the death of the Dappen bird? It's just a stupid bird. What else can you think of it? You threw your life for a frost and water crane. As Soon as these words came out, many people present were instantly disgusted. Immediately frowning. He was about to refute. At this moment, the person sitting in the main seat spoke up. Hey, I can't say that. This Shuangshu is also trying to save Xiaoxu, right? As soon as these words came out, the whole place was silent. Those present here are considered to be old-fashioned holy realms. Ever since Chen Changsheng stepped into a demigod, the task given to us by the beast gods has not progressed any further. Now that I finally have this opportunity, what are you all afraid of? The figure in the main seat suddenly clasped his fists, stuck his head out, and looked around with indifferent eyes. Or, you don't care about beast gods anymore? Or, are you used to living a comfortable life? 17. Holy places. The only remaining 17 holy places of Blue Star are here. Remove the previously dead Dappen bird, the evil dragon king, and the scavenger. With such a huge number, they did not dare to invade the human race. When Chen Changsheng was in charge, he could only rely on the occasional wave of beasts to influence the development of the human race. One could imagine how powerful Chen Changsheng was hearing what the person sitting on the main seat said. The field was quiet. Today, none of them dared to act rashly about the death of the Dappen bird. All because before Ye Chen appeared, or should be said before Zhang Zilei appeared. Chen Changsheng's breath exploded once, as if he wanted to make a move, but sensing Zhang Zilei's breath, he fell silent again. For the so-called holy beast Kilin in the seat, the people present could not raise a trace of resistance at all. After all, the suppression of the bloodline is there. Even if there is no divine beast bloodline, it is the existence of the beast known as auspicious. What? Are you dumb? Seeing that the beasts didn't speak, Jin Kilin's face darkened, snapped, the sound of clapping the table sounded, and a big man was furious. His grandmother, I have endured you for a long time, Leoniu. Don't think that you can pretend to be in front of Leoniu by relying on half a drop of blood from the beast god. The Titan Bull stood up angrily and sprayed at Jin Kilin. That Jin Kilin's complexion fused, and the Titan Bull didn't care about Jin Kilin's complexion at all. And the people present also showed joy. And finally someone stood up and killed this guy. The Titan War Bull itself is violent, and their Titan family is stronger than ordinary alien beasts in terms of combat power, and they do not counsel killing at all. I said Xiaojin, you won't forget it. How did you humbly ask everyone to give you some resources when you were a golden dog? If it wasn't for the phantom of the beast god coming, you licked your face and got the half drop of divine blood. Do you think you are qualified to sit there? Even the space mouse at the back is better than your titanium alloy. The dog is much stronger. You dare to scold me? Jin Kilin stood up abruptly. His momentum weakened the moment he spoke, scolding. You? How do you know that I want to scold you as a fucking dog? I call you Jin Kilin, and you really think you are Kilin? Hearing the Titan War Bull's words, there was a burst of laughter off the field, and some of them couldn't help laughing. Especially the Void Insect King, who burst out laughing. The void space constructed by him almost collapsed directly. After discovering that something was wrong, I did my best to maintain and stabilize the space. The Titan Bull also took a look at the Void Insect King and set his sights on Jin Kilin again. This time, Jin Kilin no longer had the same beauty as before. It has always been because of the sentence before the beast god left. You will be in charge of the beast clan in the future. In terms of combat power, this guy really can't even rank in the top 10. Leave the command to me tomorrow. You go back to your kennel, cowardly. After the Titan War Bull saw that this guy was no longer afraid to speak, he said a word, turned around and left. Something like a portal opens in front of the Titan Bull, which is one of the abilities of the Void Insect King. Creatures in this void can choose the location of their descent at will. The Void Insect King glanced at Jin Kilin with great interest, then let everyone go and listen to Brother Niu's arrangement tomorrow. Don't worry about Jin Kilin. After all, what Brother Niu said is the truth. That Jin Kilin thought that the Void Insect King was going to comfort him, but before he could react, he received a fatal blow. Just about to get angry, the Insect King smiled slightly, waved his little hand, and Jin Kilin was sucked in by a space door. Sample, in my void, I'm invincible. Okay, the Void Insect King said disdainfully. Among the alien beasts, don't look at it as just a bug with void attributes. but his strength can be ranked in the top 3. There is no other reason. It all depends on his strange and changeable moves. As long as he unfolds the void, he is invincible. Even the Titan Bull did not dare to confront the Void Insect King head on. The temporary stability, perhaps to meet the next storm. 17 holy beasts. This is no joke. But in the middle, the Snow Queen, the Space Mouse, and the Frost Water Crane. These 3 holy beasts have already lost their fighting spirit. 1 is scared by Ye Chen. Xuan Shu has lost the heart of a strong man. The other 2 were chased by Zhang Zilei. I was almost shot to death by Zhang Zilei's gun after several spatial movements. Chapter 194. I will give you AN-039 1 hand. 039. Although the space rat is a holy beast, but it is a newly promoted holy realm, it is normal for Zhang Zilei to chase and knock it down. What's more, the Snow Queen no longer has much fighting power, and she is even more tired after dragging her to escape. When the Void Insect King sent the various sacred beasts back to their original positions, he also silently hid in the second layer void to continue to recuperate. And that Jin Killin's scalp is numb with anger now, but if he can kill the Titan Bull now, he will never hesitate. Not even frowning. Frowning is the greatest disrespect to him. Ye Chen and Zhang Zilei followed Ji Kai and Meng to the Tower of Renshin. This was the first time they saw this tower. After all, the existence of this tower is little known. Only those who have made great contributions to the human race are eligible to know. And Ye Chen and Zhang Zilei now both exist in the Holy Land. They are naturally qualified to understand. The moment Ye Chen stepped into the Tower of the Gods, the tiger's body shook. Suddenly looking up, I feel there is a very strange breath that attracts the fountain of life in his body. Ye Chen is a little puzzled. This is the first time I have encountered such a bizarre situation. And Chen Changsheng too. The moment Ye Chen stepped into the Tower of the Gods, the whole person stood in the distance. Thinking in my mind, the name Ye Chen was thinking in my mind. What talent did he awaken? This question was spinning wildly in Chen Changsheng's mind, and Chen Changsheng himself didn't know why such a problem occurred. Ye Chen shook his head sharply, no longer thinking about it. Just stay here by himself. Then what attracts you will naturally appear on its own. Ji Kai and Meng did not use the power of space to take everyone directly to the resting place of the old god stick and Zhang Binking, but introduced Zhang Zilei and Ye Chen to the interior of the human god tower, and is currently researching various projects, although Ye Chen wasn't interested. The various weapons that could enhance the element, etc., synthesized with manpower and talent, were considered quite good. For example, although the ice attribute sword used by Zhang Binking was broken, it could not be denied that the sword gave Zhang Binking a brief boost. If it wasn't for that sword, it might have been killed by the Snow Queen long ago. Ye Chen doesn't take it seriously. After all, he has Raijin Jaka. Although the current Raijin Jaka seems to be unable to keep up with the development. After all, this is a Zanpakuto of the extinction level. Group damage is invincible, but the strongest single attack should be the Rising Sun Blade. It's a pity that Ye Chen has not yet acquired the talent to increase the speed, and the Rising Sun Blade has become a bit tasteless as for the high temperature. Although the lethality is powerful, the sacred beasts can support the temperature for a short time. If Bankei takes too long, I'm afraid it will be Blue Star who can't hold on first. In the final analysis, Ye Chen's individual soldier ability is too weak, and when it comes to wood style, it is also a group injury move. Humanoid self-propelled forbidden technique machine, full of the ability to destroy the world. The ability to single-handedly cut directly in half. When Ye Chen saw Zhang Binking again, Zhang Binking's injury was quite stable. All over the body. The injuries are very serious. Broken bones are hard to count. The strength of the Holy Land and the hardness of the bones are beyond the imagination of ordinary people. But also, when the bones are broken, it is also much more difficult to repair bones. Ye Chen suddenly walked up to Zhang Binking. Tang Qingshan frowned and immediately snorted. What do you want to do? Ye Chen was stunned for a moment, and was suddenly reprimanded in a bad tone. Ye Chen was also stunned. Ji Kai and Meng quickly stopped Tang Qingshan. Old Tang, what are you doing? What are you doing? Ice Phoenix's injury is unstable now, and no one can get close to her. Tang Qingshan was furious, and the Ice Phoenix was still in a coma, so nothing could go wrong. Ji Meng was a little speechless and said earnestly, I know you are worried about this little girl, but Ye Chen is an auxiliary saint. Tang Qingshan was stunned. Auxiliary department, saint. When did our human race have an auxiliary saint? And many more. Exclamation mark. Is this guy a holy place? No. How old is this kid? At this moment, Tang Qingshan's eyes were empty, and there was no way to connect Ye Chen with the 5 words of the auxiliary saint, Ye Chen. Tang Qingshan muttered to himself, suddenly realizing, is that the genius of the wood system you mentioned earlier? Yeah, it's him. Seeing Tang Qingshan's face changing, Bei Junjian couldn't bear it any longer as he spoke. He lifted his shirt slightly. He healed my injury, and it only took 10 seconds. Helpless. Shoulder shrugged slightly. This time, Tang Qingshan was completely dumbfounded. Isn't he dead? Ye Chen turned his head and smiled slightly. Something happened. It was a blessing in disguise. Seeing this, Tang Qingshan didn't say anything more. After all, Ye Chen was a saint. Although he is an elder, the saint cannot be humiliated. That is the pillar of the human race. Ye Chen stared at Zhang Bingqing's situation carefully, and his heart was full of shock. It can be said that Zhang Bingqing's injuries were very serious, but he was forcibly hanged to his life by this medical device. And he is slowly repairing his injuries. Without this medical device, Zhang Bingqing would be dead now. Ye Chen smiled bitterly. No wonder no one liked the nanny before. A medical device that can heal even a saint. I'm afraid that a medical device can hold a wet nurse in the scorching sun, right? Ye Chen, how is it? Can it be cured? Zhang Zilei had been standing far away from the moment he first entered the door, never approaching Zhang Bingqing. But his eyes kept on her, and there was a pain in his heart. Ye Chen heard Zhang Zilei's words, turned around and gave a confident smile. No problem. After fiddling around the entire medical cabin, I found a pipe for adding medical fluids under all eyes. Ye Chen pulled out Raijin Jack, a knife to the artery in his left hand. PFFT. The palm of one left hand fell into the pipe. Everyone was shocked. Ye Chen. Ye Chen, what are you doing? Ye Chen frowned. Good guy. I couldn't control my strength and cut off my hand. Confused. You quickly fish out the broken hand, and it can still be connected now. Tang Qingshan stepped forward and hurriedly tried to salvage his broken hand. Ye Chen smiled slightly. It's okay. No more. Where? The left hand is severed. The arm is growing rapidly. But within 2 breaths, Ye Chen's palm instantly recovered as before. Everyone present was silent. My scalp was numb from Ye Chen's one-handed operation. Bei Junjian pointed at Ye Chen and said to Ji Meng and Zhang Zi, you know him well. I want to ask, is he really a man? Chapter 195. Why do you sound like AVILLAIN and -039 S quotations? Zhang Zilei and Ji Meng were also stunned, although they knew that Ye Chen's self-healing ability was very powerful. But reborn from a severed limb? At this point, at present, the demigod Chen Sheng possesses this ability. I originally thought that Ye Chen's injury healed quickly, but this is not the same as growing back, but 2 different definitions. Don't ask me, I don't know. Zilei spends more time with Ye Chen. Boy, you ask him. Ji Meng swallowed and threw the question to Zhang Zilei. Zhang Zilei is full of black lines. You don't know. I know. Looking at Bei Junjian's expectant gaze, Zhang Jiraiya didn't know how to answer at this moment. Tang Qingshan heard a soft cry. This unbelievable medical miracle. Tang Qingshan was shocked by Ye Chen's arm recovery ability. His first reaction at that time was, Ye Chen just used a blindfold. When his eyes reached the severed palm in the medical cabin, Tang Qingshan went completely crazy. After the severed palm caught blood and fell into the medical cabin. The originally red blood suddenly emitted an emerald green light, wrapping Zhang Bingqing. And the injuries on his body are being repaired at a speed visible to the naked eye. The originally broken left arm bone was planned to be reattached after the injury on Zhang Bingqing's body was almost repaired. The result is now fixed. Okay, it's okay. She will recover when she wakes up. Ye Chen moved the regrown palm and said. Everyone looked at Ye Chen like a monster. There was only one person staring at Ye Chen with an undisguised desire in his eyes, that is, dissect Ye Chen. Ye Chen felt cold behind his back. turned to look, and saw Tang Qingshan. His saliva was about to flow down. It turns out, auxiliary saints are so strong. Tang Qingshan said excitedly. Ji Qianmeng suddenly interrupted. Is there a possibility that the stronger one is Ye Chen, not the assistant? Ye Chen watched Tang Qingshan gradually pervert and immediately slapped his hand away. Then what? Since sister binking is alright, then I'll go first. Tang Qingshan grabbed Ye Chen's arm, his eyes full of desire. Ye Chen, can you grant me a small request? Ye Chen was flattered and pulled his arm out of Tang Qingshan's hands. Any request? Actually, it's not anything. It's a difficult thing. It's just, Tang Qingshan squeaked. Ye Chen is a little panicked. It's not a difficult thing. Are you hesitating? I just want you an arm, a thigh, and 2 more pounds. No, 4 pounds of blood. At that time, Ye Chen's expression seemed to be stupid. Old Tang, if we hadn't known each other for many years, I almost thought. Ye Chen interrupted Ji Qianmeng by covering her forehead. Don't say it. I think of some plots, and there is a sense of sight that the thugs are charging money to break my hands and feet. Oh, how is it possible? Is my old Tang such a person? I just think your blood is a little unusual. It seems to contain a strong vitality. Tang Qingshan realized that what he said was a bit too much and quickly explained. Then, you give me some blood. I'll study it. Ye Chen waved his hand. It's okay. It's not a big problem. The knife fell from the hand, and the left hand and left foot were directly cut off. He took a huge glass container from the side and stabbed himself in the neck without hesitation, and the blood poured down like a waterfall. As the wound stopped, the hands and feet recovered quickly. Ye Chen twisted his neck. Is it enough that Zhang Zilei, Ji Qianmeng, and Bei Junjian were 3 standing silently in the distance? The 3 covered their faces and fell into contemplation. Also a saint. Why does he look less human than us? This is an absolutely serious question. And after Ye Chen finished all this, he just looked at his clothes stained with blood and silently said, it's dirty again. Oh no, I ruined another set of clothes. When Ye Chen cut his arm just now, he didn't take off his clothes. Hey, what? Where should I take a shower? Ye Chen asked Tang Qingshan. At this moment, Tang Qingshan was intoxicated with that big bucket of hot blood. He himself is a talent of the wood attribute, but his talent is still in a juvenile state. But I don't know why. The moment I saw Ye Chen's blood, I had the urge to summon my talent to absorb the blood. But he immediately suppressed this urge. He must first understand the situation, not to mention that, if the blood is full of powerful vitality, it is possible to use the blood to supplement the old magic stick with some vitality. Ye Chen was a little speechless when he saw that Tang Qingshan ignored him. Let's go. I'll take you to a room. Ji Qianmeng stopped Ye Chen, who was about to pat Tang Qingshan on the shoulder. Ye Chen stopped and nodded. The top and second floors of the Tower of the Gods are only a few dozen meters apart. But in the Tower of the Gods, under the control of Chen Changsheng, no one could spy on the top floor, and the rooms of the saints are on the second floor. There are 10 rooms in total, and the rooms are clean and tidy, with everything you need. Choose any room and stay here for the time being. Ji Qianmeng pointed to the rooms at the back and said, the one in the front is from the old magician, the one in the back is mine, the third one for the sword saint, the fourth one for the ice phoenix girl, and the rest are unoccupied. To casually found a room and began to rest. And Ji Qianmeng and Bei Junjian also returned to their room. Today's day's toss. Tiredness well at that point. Although Bei Junjian only made one sword, it can be said that this sword is the strongest sword he has ever used. Directly smash the dapping bird. A few hours later, Ye Chen walked out of the room. During the time in the room, Ye Chen kept thinking that he seemed to have forgotten something. After a few hours, he finally remembered. The first thing I did when I walked out the door was to wake the others. Hey, wake up, Dang, don't sleep. You are all saints. The moment Ye Chen knocked on the door, they woke up. Bei Junjian hurriedly raised his pants and ran out of the room with his upper body exposed. The alien beasts attacking? Damn it, I can't even get a good night's sleep. Ye Chen was stunned, but he didn't expect that. If he woke them up, Bei Junjian would think it was an enemy attack. For a while he hesitated, not knowing what to say. Ji Qianmeng and Zhang Zilei walked out of the door slowly. Juggernaut, I guess Ye Chen came to us, not for this. Ji Qianmeng said earnestly. Although Zhang Zilei didn't speak, he also cast an approval glance at Ji Qianmeng. Chapter 196, The Great Peng. Wooden Golem roasted peng wings. Ye Chen scratched his head embarrassedly. Sorry, I just suddenly remembered that there was something good I didn't give you. What? Good stuff? Ji Qianmeng asked curiously. What can make Ye Chen feel that it is a good thing will definitely not be bad. Bei Junjian and Zhang Zilei were a little curious. Ye Chen looked around after hearing this. I can't do it here. I can't let it go. Then he turned his attention to Ji Qianmeng. Old man Ji, take us to the outside of the tower. Ji Qianmeng nodded, waved his hand, and a space door opened. A group of 4 walked in. Ye Chen looked around and nodded. Under the shocked gazes of the 3, Ye Chen took out a giant chicken wing. Peng wing. Unfortunately, it's only 500 meters, but I don't think we can finish it. Ye Chen watched the moment when the huge peng wing landed, squashing the surrounding forest. Roasted chicken wings. Zhang Zilei was shocked. He never thought that Ye Chen asked him to wait for others to come down to eat. Ji Qianmeng and Bei Junjian were very interested. After all, this was the meat of a holy beast. It's easy to eat, but what are you going to do? Meat the size of a mountain is probably not good for roasting, right? Bei Junjian was very interested in this, but he didn't know anything about how to cook it. It's not easy to bake. Ye Zhao's flame temperature is so high, just use the temperature to cook it. Ji Qianmeng said. Also, Bei Junjian didn't say anything anymore. Zhang Zilei was the most speechless. I thought the saints were all arrogant, and they didn't do meaningless things. I didn't expect. Thinking of this, Zhang Zilei can only join the big team of roast wings. Then, I'll go and call the staff in the Tower of the Gods to eat together. Ji Qianmeng said suddenly. Also, I still have Dapeng's body. I just want to eat grilled wings, flesh or something. I don't like it. Saying that, he threw Dapeng's body directly. Everyone is speechless now. Your space ring is a bit leathery. After things were arranged, Ji Qianmeng went to call someone. Ye Chen started his own magic operation. Style wood clone. 40 or 50 clones of Ye Chen were split from Ye Chen. Before the clones Ye Chen could speak, the main body Ye Chen shouted directly. Brothers, take off the feathers on that future roasted wings. Pull them out. The audience was silent. Even Bei Junjian and Zhang Zilei were silent. Open a clone. Divide 50 people out, just to pluck hair. Although reluctant, the 52 people also started to move. A few of them even opened the wood dragon directly and started plucking. When Ji Qianmeng came out with all the people in the Tower of Human God, all of them were shocked by this scene. Ye Chen saw thousands of people standing in a daze in the distance and quickly shouted, "Don't be stupid. Do you have any talent in the water element? Wash the ingredients." Style wooden golem jutsu. The huge wooden golem born under Ye Chen's feet directly lifted the peng's wings with Ye Chen's control. Dozens of people washed the meat with water. Hair plucking, wooden golem washing. Very perfect. Very Ye Chen. Then Ye Chen controlled wood style, forming a huge wooden sign that ran through the entire peng wing. The massive wooden golem held up huge grilled wings. Juggernaut, change the chicken wings to a flour knife, and by the way, cut the body of Dapeng over there, and clean the internal organs well. Bei Junjian was silent. I didn't expect that one day my role would be to change the flour knife for food. Bei Junjian, who was silent, put his right fingers together silently, and his sword fingers stabbed the huge peng wing a few times. Then Dapeng's body was simply dealt with. Seeing that everything was almost the same, Ye Chen made a huge pot with wood style and cleaned it again. Wood style wraps the meat tightly. Susanoo wraps wood style with a layer of fire protection. The final slapstick begins. Everything is ashes or lower ashes. Raijinjaka. I saw Ye Chen came out with his sword drawn, standing under the wings of Peng Shike. A huge flame surged out in an instant, and Ye Chen slashed out. The fire enveloped Susa's wood style. Oh, I didn't expect it to be so tiring to cook. Ye Chen looked at his masterpiece and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Wooden golem obediently placed Peng's wings on the flame and rolled back and forth. Ye Chen looked at this scene and nodded with relief. And the group of people who watched Ye Chen cooking behind them were silent. A huge wooden golem with a height of 4 or 5,000 meters is sitting on the ground, holding a huge chicken wing and roasting chicken wings there. Ye Chen, I'm completely convinced by you. Beijunjian silently stepped forward and looked at the magnificent scene in front of him. You're welcome, it's nothing, ha ha ha. Ye Chen responded with a smile, suddenly remembering something, and hurriedly asked, but how long does it take to bake this sacred beast meat? Can you eat that much? How do I know? It's our first time to eat holy beast meat. Jikai and Meng rolled her eyes and said angrily, before the human race crisis, Ye Chen's series of operations made many people feel a little disgusted. However, some people admire Ye Chen, as if he is heartless. As for those resentments, it's a little ridiculous. People on the front line, what qualifications do you have to dislike others? The short happy hour ended after Ye Chen ate the last bite of the roasted penguin. After returning to the room, Ye Chen was lying on the bed, looking at the starry sky outside the window. Tongzi, by the way, how big is the world? It's okay if you don't want to say it, I'm used to it anyway. It's huge, so big that you can't finish it in your entire life. You can just say that I can't understand how big the world is until I die. And what about a poor life? So that's why I don't like chatting with you. You can always find a way to chat to death. It's such an exaggeration. I think I'm likable. Ha. Ha. P.S. Ahem. This chapter is purely craving for grilled chicken wings. And then I wrote it out of nowhere. The next holy beast battle is over, because the next reward is going to start the battle of gods under the existing foreshadowing. I have arranged the god. Others who want to add god can leave message here. When leaving a message, remember to bring your settings. Z.G. God of time, name, lifespan, basic background, approximate ability. Of course, in fact, it is enough to talk about the ability of the name, and I can think of other things myself. If you want to make a cameo as a god, you can leave a message. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197, Dialogue with Cheyenne Dao, The Origin of Talent. A night of bonfires and barbecues can be considered to ease the tension of the human race. After all, the dapping bird is a holy beast, and most people still cannot eat too much. So Ye Chen cut most of the meat into small pieces and added meals to all the soldiers. Let everyone distribute it little by little, so that the whole human race can eat dapping meat. Dapping never dreamed that he would actually will be eaten by humans all over the world. That night, Ye Chen slept soundly. From the death of the evil Dragon King to travel to the Otherworld, a series of operations seemed very easy, but the fast-paced life made Ye Chen a little annoyed. It's as if I haven't had a rest at all. But the truth is, I haven't had a rest at all. In his sleep, Ye Chen came to a strange space. Like a dream, but not a dream. In the dream, the entire blue star was at his feet. There is a feeling of being above all beings. Pretty. A hollow voice sounded, interrupting Ye Chen's peculiar feeling. Nice, Ye Chen said without hesitation. Unfortunately, it won't last long. The hollow voice smiled and spoke again. Ye Chen was puzzled. Why do you say that? But Ye Chen's words didn't get the response he deserved. Instead, he received a sentence that made Ye Chen sweat. Where did you come from? What are you going to do? Where are you going? Ye Chen, who had just recovered from being infatuated with the top of the world, turned as hen in an instant. Immediately, he shouted angrily, who are you? It doesn't matter who I am, what matters is who you are. Ye Chen got such a sentence and was silent for a moment. The voice came again. I exist in this world since the blue star gave birth to life. My existence will not have any bad influence on this world, and you shouldn't exist in this world. You are the variable of this world. Who are you? A series of words made Ye Chen frown, not understanding the meaning of these words. After thinking for a while calmly, Ye Chen sighed. It's rude not to introduce yourself before asking someone a question, isn't it? You keep saying that I shouldn't be here, but you don't have the ability to expel me. That's why you talked to me, didn't you? In that case, you want to get news from me without explaining your origin or reporting your family? How can there be such a good thing in the world? Ye Chen's brain was running wildly, and it could be said that this was the first time he was so smart. The hollow voice suddenly fell silent. But Ye Chen knew that it was definitely still here. Since it hesitated, it means that what he thought was right. The current he cannot expel the current me. If you guessed correctly, it is the way of the blue star. After a planet grows to a certain height, there will be aura, which is the so-called recovery of aura. According to human beings, like a game, the price of recovery of aura is the invasion of a higher civilization. I don't know if it's gratifying or tragic. This so-called invasion has novice protection. Before the birth of a god on Blue Star, foreign creatures are not allowed to enter. There was helplessness in the voice and words. I thought it was a new life, but I didn't expect it turned out to be annihilation. And when I mastered a method of giving spiritual energy, I tried to empower the beasts, but after those guys got the ability, they would only act as a blessing, and even surrender to the beast gods outside the territory. Just when I was desperate, the human race, that I disliked the most, broke out of unity and cohesion at the most critical moment. I watched this scene, and decided to fight again. I gave most of the spiritual energy to the human race. Living up to my expectations, the human race is growing very fast. It's just that the blood race in the west, the ice and snow race in the north, let me completely chill. A group of people who abandoned their human race identities in order to survive, joined alien scum. What's different from other countries in the world is, when desire fell in the world, the dozens of guys who were the first to get my spiritual energy, led the young children and weak women, and fought through the siege, using flesh and blood for future generations' support and environment, where they can live. I chose Daksha. Daksha also chose me. Speaking of which, the voice stopped. Ye Chen also got many keywords from it. For example, the aura endowment, such as the blood family and the ice and snow family, should be the ice queen. I also understand why there is only desire left in this world. The talent of this world is actually just the existence that I constructed. Divine beast, divine weapon, element. It's all just constructed by combining the myths of the human race. So in this world, every human being will be endowed with an ability, that is, a talent, by the rules I use. But you're not gifted with talent, so you're not from this world, are you? Ye Chen nodded, not avoiding the question, and there was no need to do so. Blue Star's heavenly Deo, right? The hollow voice did not deny it either. That's right. Ye Chen sighed deeply. I'm really not from this world, and I don't have that much nostalgia for the previous world. Instead, here, I have friends, elders, and a good life. Maybe you won't believe me, but I'll say it anyway. I'm here. Blue Star is here. Ye Chen said firmly. His eyes did not waver at all. Xiandao was stunned. As Xiandao, he has too many rules, but it can't see through Ye Chen's heart. From what Ye Chen just said, it was all sincerity. With Ye Chen's answer, it doesn't need to say more. Thanks. Ye Chen slowly opened his eyes. The sun had already risen. 3 poles standing on the heights of the Tower of Man God, overlooking the world. Although it is not as majestic as standing on the Buddha to see the world, it has a different flavor. Standing on the big Buddha is to kill and protect the human race. Standing at the height of the Mansen Tower is to take a good look at the mountains and rivers that he protects. The way of heaven. Ye Chen looked up at the sky. What is the way of heaven? It's just that the rules of a planet give birth to consciousness. Since there is life, there is no desire to die, and the way of heaven is naturally the same. Ye Chen's heart is calm. Those so-called advanced civilization invasions are for the sake of heaven. It's like the little heaven where the gate of rules devours that world. Although it was true, Ye Chen didn't dare to gamble. If the Deo of heaven disappears, will the blue star also be destroyed? After all, the Deo of Heaven is the rule of the whole world point. Even if it is not destroyed, how will those so-called gods arrange the human race on Blue Star? Is it a massacre? Or captive? Chapter 198 Beast God, Black Prison Dragon King. Chen Shang was also standing at the peak of the Tower of the Gods, and his heart was very disturbed. Point. As long as he enters the realm of the gods, the danger of the human race will disappear. But he has been having a recurring dream recently, the voice in the dream, so that he should not step into the realm of the gods. Obviously at this level, it's easy not to sleep, but I always fall asleep from time to time. Hey. Brother Tongzi, in my dream last night, I hurt, don't compare, practice hard, children don't ask so much, I haven't asked anything yet, then, you ask now, how strong is God? 1 knife is enough, the system said angrily. Ye Chen was stunned, a knife. Fortunately, Ji Kai and Meng didn't hear this, otherwise, I'm afraid I'm going to go crazy. When I think of someone who chased me and told me to slash, does God have ranks? God is just a title. When you step into a demigod, I'll tell you the difference between the gods. The system was silent and perfunctory. Point. Now Ye Chen knows that it's still too early. It's not necessary. Point. Although he is currently in the holy realm, the current blue star spiritual energy concentration requires him to cultivate to the words of a demigod. Point. Even if Ye Chen opened the hook to absorb the spiritual energy, it would take a year and a half. Point. Of course, with the system in place, the time will definitely be shortened a lot. Point. After a short exchange, Ye Chen came to the front line. Point. At this moment, other saints, including Zhang Bingking, are also discussing countermeasures. It's impossible to kill all the alien beasts in one go. The best way is to kill all the alien beasts in the holy realm. Ji Kai and Meng expressed his opinion. Ye Chen stepped into the conference room and interjected with a smile. It's not easy. Let me Bankei and burn them all to ashes. I'm afraid that we will die first, and then Blue Star will also perish. Zhang Bingking said angrily. Haha, just kidding. Ye Chen's arrival made everyone feel at ease. Point. It was the first time that the 5 saints had gathered together. If Zhang Bingking was in a coma before. Point. After a brief exchange of the next situation, Ye Chen broke everyone's thinking. It's just a strange beast in the holy realm. In a few days, it's not enough to be afraid of. On the contrary, everyone has to be mentally prepared. Our enemies are not alien beasts. Ye Chen's words made everyone fall into contemplation. Point. Before everyone could speak, Ye Chen got up and left. It's not an alien beast. What is that? Zhang Bingking said, puzzled. Point. After fighting against alien beasts for so many years, now tell me that alien beasts are not enemies of the remaining 4 saints. 3 do not know the truth. Point. On the other hand, Ji Kai and Meng lowered her head with a heavy expression and did not speak. Point. That year, Chen Shang stepped into the demigod realm and once told himself that the enemies of the human race were not alien beasts, but when he asked the specific reason, Chen Shang said he didn't know. Point. On the other hand, the Titan Bull is already arranging the attack. Point. Except for Jin Killin's absence, the other 16 holy beasts were all ready for battle. Point. Of course, the Frostwater Crane Ice Queen and the Space Mouse, maybe not done well, tomorrow. The Vampire and the Snow Queen, Shuangshu, and the Space Mouse. The 4 of you attack from the right. Void Insect King, you are used to fighting alone. You can do it according to the situation. Phantom, Tiger, Golden Retriever or Scarlet Flame Bird, the 3 of you are strong, and the left side is handed over to you. Others, just follow me and attack. Okay. All the beasts nodded their heads to indicate that there was no problem. Point. Ye Chen didn't know yet that he was going to be soft-hearted tonight. Point. It's just the sound of the system's prompt that made me fall into a daze. Today's benefits are here. Are you often troubled by not being able to catch up with each other? Are you often troubled by the incompleteness of Sharingan? Today, you don't have to worry anymore. You want to give me Camus? Ye Chen said in surprise. Well, what I'm going to give you is Sun Wukong's teleportation. Ye Chen was silent for a while, thinking carefully. Not bad. At least I can be the 6th in the future, and teleporting over is to give the other party a knife. However, what does this have to do with Sharingan? I understand it myself. If I want to tell you everything, I might as well change the host. The System is speechless. Does it still need to be taught? You now find a powerful breath to teleport over Raijin Jakabanke and give him a knife directly. It's okay if you don't. That points are not swish. Question mark? Ye Chen was stunned. This system is sick again. Don't say it. Don't say it. After squeezing the golden ball left by the system, Ye Chen thought of how to use it. Point. As long as you put your 2 fingers on your forehead, probe the surrounding spiritual energy fluctuations, and then move your thoughts, you can complete the teleportation. Point immediately began his own slapstick operation. Point I saw Ji Qian Meng suddenly feel a chill behind him. As if there were spatial fluctuations, instantly looked back. Point no one. The next second, Ye Chen appeared instantly. Fuck. Ji Qian Meng cried out, yo, isn't this old man Ji? It's been a long time since I saw you so scared like this. You. When did you have the ability to space? Ji Qian Meng pointed at Ye Chen and asked, don't tell you, I'm going to tease other people. Ye Chen's figure disappeared in front of Ji Qian Meng in an instant. Space? No, space isn't that fast. Ji Qian Meng started a new round of doubts, but since it's Ye Chen, it's not a big problem. Point immediately afterwards, Ye Chen relied on this method to directly give everyone a surprise. Point in the void universe, the blue star is not far away. Point a huge body floats in the universe like a corpse. Point suddenly, a pair of eyes suddenly opened and looked in the direction of blue star. Almost, when the beast soul is full, my clone can step into blue star. In the void, that huge body is really indescribable. Point even the great Buddha is difficult to fight against it. The plan of the Black Prison Dragon King is simple. Point his clone came to blue star with the strength of a demigod. If the human race demigod did not enter the realm of gods, he would definitely not be able to beat his clone. If enter the realm of god, that is when his own body descends on blue star. The Black Prison Dragon King, referring to the beast god, is actually a dragon in the god realm with the name of the beast god. There is no so-called descendant of the dragon in this article. It is not my race. As long as it is not good for the human race, it must die. When the holy beast is dead, it is the time when the beast soul of the beast god sect is full. It's just that a certain dragon would never dream of it. Ye Chen's Raijin Jaka, kill the soul. For example, when the beast god sect arrived at the land where the Dappen bird fell, except for a huge bird head, nothing but soul, no bird shit. Chapter 199. How about a coke? After Ye Chen's series of operations, now the entire Tower of the Gods knows that he will teleport. Point even Xiandao, who was hiding in the dark, was stunned. I didn't chat with him just now. How come in a blink of an eye, an extra teleport? Thinking of this, Xiandao quickly checked the rules he had. No, my teleportation rules are still there, and the simple teleportation rule is actually not strong. It is mainly used to catch the opponent by surprise. After Ye Chen found all the acquaintances above blue star, he suddenly remembered something. Point. As long as you detect the breath, can you teleport to the other side? The system looked at Ye Chen's shocked expression, and finally had an old father's feeling that his son had grown up. I can use it to find demigods. And that beast god too. The system was stunned. Okay, you think I didn't say it just now? Point. I'm such a good guy. I'm letting you be the 6th. Immediately now. As soon as Bankai opens, teleport kills. Then use points to strengthen the Camu-free version of the Eternal Manjaki Sharingan. My god, why are people so stupid? Is my IQ too high? Or is his IQ too low? I don't understand. Ye Chen didn't know the good intentions of the system, but after thinking about this, he sat down quickly. Put your 2 fingers on your forehead and carefully feel the aura fluctuations around you. A series of familiar auras were caught by Ye Chen, but Ye Chen's goal was not them. In the surrounding spiritual energy, there is a spiritual energy fluctuation that is different from ordinary people. But because Ye Chen didn't know who the other party was, he was very unfamiliar with this aura. Now that I think about it, if there are people around here who are different from anyone else, it is only Chen Shangsheng. After all, he is a demigod. Even if he is still human, there should be a difference between ordinary humans, right? At this moment, Ye Chen's mind. I found a terrifying aura, and that aura exudes the breath of death. Ye Chen felt this aura carefully. Although the aura looked very strange, Ye Chen felt a little vitality from it, but the vitality was very weak. If that's Right, you should be a demigod. Ye Chen suddenly opened his eyes and smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth. The figure disappeared instantly. In a blink of an eye, Ye Chen appeared in a closed space. The white space made Ye Chen a little uncomfortable. After all, in the gated rules, it was also this kind of white environment. How did you get in? An old man with a long beard in a white robe appeared. Ye Chen looked at this person and always felt that he was the demigod Chen Changsheng he was looking for, but Ji Qian Meng, who is a saint, is so young. Why does Chen Changsheng, who is already a demigod, look old? Ye Chen was very puzzled about this. Chen Changsheng frowned slightly, and the wrinkles on his face also appeared. You haven't answered me yet. There was a hint of displeasure in his tone. It seems that Ye Chen's panic at that moment made him very uncomfortable. Oh, sorry, I just lost my mind. Ah, you a demigod senior? After Ye Chen was woken up by Chen Changsheng, he quickly apologized. Although Chen Changsheng's tone was a little bad, Ye Chen didn't hear anything wrong. Instead, he said very enthusiastically, I have heard about your name senior, but I haven't had a chance to see you. I finally saw you today, and when I saw you, I felt very cordial. Senior is really as everyone said. The jade tree is in the wind, and the wind is suave. If the gods, the dragons among the people, the dragons and the phoenix dance the universe. Can that? Chen Changsheng was a little stunned for a while, but he couldn't react. Listening to Ye Chen's touts until Ye Chen couldn't think of a word. After a few voices, that's back to God. Ha 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 ha, you kid, it's interesting. Chen Changsheng laughed suddenly, raised his arm slightly, and waved it forward. A set of tables and chairs appeared in an instant, and Chen Changsheng made a pleased gesture. Sit down and have a chat. This time, Ye Chen was stunned. Hey, alright, Chen Changsheng had been in this space for a long time, and now someone finally appeared. That's why he thought so. Anyway, it's all there. It's better to chat first. Anyway, it's a bit boring to retreat for so long. Ye Chen hurriedly sat on the chair, and his body was a little straight. Feeling Chen Changsheng's aura, Ye Chen was speechless now. It is said that God only needs a knife. Is this what you call a knife? I always thought he was going to kill me, and I didn't even have the chance to return the phone. Okay, but what Ye Chen was more puzzled about was that the previous Taizushu Yun, the evil Flood Dragon King, and the Crazy Blade King had all touched the level of a demigod. But compared to Chen Changsheng in front of him, he was still a lot weaker. I always feel that there is no so-called comparability. Chen Changsheng skillfully transformed a set of tea sets. It seems that in this space, he can do whatever he wants. Point your finger, the tea table will appear, then the tea set will appear, and the cold water will boil by yourself. For this, Ye Chen was a little shocked. Small things. But these things, as if he created it out of thin air. What? Tea? After Chen Changsheng finished the prelude to making tea, he asked Ye Chen with a smile. Iced tea, thank you. Ye Chen blurted out without hesitation. The hand that Chen Changsheng was washing the teacup shook slightly. The old face turned red. My dear, I'm a demigod making tea and shaking hands. I still need to be a human when it spreads out. Ye Chen also came back to his senses, and the whole person is not well. It's a good word to say. Junior doesn't know much about tea. I look forward to Senior Heihan. Ye Chen quickly regained his serious look. Seeing that, Chen Changsheng was stunned for a moment. This kid doesn't play cards according to the routine. Then just drink it. I liked Dongting Beluachin recently. It belongs to a kind of green tea, but I don't think you are interested in these, so I won't tell you more. During the conversation, Chen Changsheng had a tea bag in his hand and brewed tea with ease. Ye Chen scratched his head in embarrassment. Chen Changsheng was right. He really had no interest in tea. What's even more frightening is that Ye Chen almost blurted out a sentence just now. That sentence was, I hate green tea the most in my life. Of course, I can only be thankful that he didn't say it just now. You are Ye Chen, right? You know me, Chen. Changsheng brought a cup of tea to Ye Chen and smiled slightly. The tea brewed by the old man. Try it. Ye Chen nodded slightly and didn't say more. He picked up the hot tea and took a sip. How? Ye Chen was a little embarrassed and didn't know how to reply. Senior, how? About you bring me a bottle of Coke. Chapter 200. Do you have any misunderstanding of the word and quat, trash fish and quat? Chen Sheng laughed instead of being angry. His tea making skills should not have declined. I was disliked by a junior. Back then, the body of a person who wanted to drink his own cup of tea could circle the blue star several times. Young is good. Hey, you're always joking. You're still young. Since you said that the old man is still young, why use your old age? Chen Sheng asked jokingly. Ye Chen took a sip of the tea and almost spit it out. Man, how am I supposed to refute this statement? Refute yourself. I said I just said something wrong. Do you believe it? Believe? Why don't you believe it? You are so easygoing. That's why I said you're an interesting kid, and that I'm easygoing, and you're the first. The old man and the young man just talked for a while. The two also changed their names and got to know each other a lot. Ye Chen, how big do you think this world is? Chen. Leo, I don't know, but all I know is that it is impossible to explain blue star with science now, so there is no way to explain whether there are aliens with science. Ye Chen answered Chen Sheng's words and paused for a moment. So I think that, since things have developed towards the unknown, it is better to let nature take its course. Even if there are aliens, our goal is very clear, that is to protect our homeland. After Chen Sheng heard Ye Chen's answer, his eyes narrowed with laughter, but he felt a little more lonely. You're right, but if you want to defend your homeland in this starry sky, it's easier said than done. Ye Chen was silent, and only after a while did he speak, and this opening was Wangzhe. Chen. Leo, the deadline is approaching. Chen. Sheng looked at Ye Chen in surprise. Can you tell? Ye Chen nodded slightly. Your spiritual energy is mixed with a strong aura of death. But in that aura of death, there is a tenacious vitality. Chen. Sheng smiled and said, you are indeed very good, and your observation skills are also very strong. No wonder you became a saint at such a young age. My talent is called immortality, and the way of cultivation is not the same as everyone else. I can only gain strength by giving up my lifespan, and now, my strength has reached the upper limit. If I take another step forward, what awaits me may not be a new life, but death. Speaking of this, Chen Sheng looked up at Ye Chen. Actually, every trace of spiritual energy I use is supported by my lifespan. If I don't fight, I can live for 3 more years. I have 3 minutes to live. Ye Chen was shocked. This was no joke. What he means is that he only has 1 shot right now, and now the army of alien beasts should launch a raid at night. Ye Chen frowned. Chen Sheng also noticed Ye Chen's expression. Don't worry, I won't let the human race perish. When it's time to do it, I will naturally do it. But Ye Chen replied quickly, but was interrupted by Chen Sheng. Hey, there's nothing wrong. Chen Sheng, have guarded the human race all my life. Before I die, I will make more contributions to the human race. When Ye Chen heard Chen Sheng's words, some sadness arose in his heart. If you step into the realm of gods, Ye Chen said suddenly, but was stunned again. Xiandao once told himself that when the first gods appeared, the protective layer of blue star would also disappear. At that time, countless foreign gods will come to compete for the blue star. If I step into the realm of the gods, the world will usher in a real disaster. Chen Sheng smiled and got up and left. Okay, you should go. As if he was in a hurry to chase away the guests. Before Ye Chen could speak, Chen Sheng waved his arms. Ye Chen didn't even react, so he sat in his room. Good guy, just drive me away when you say go. The whole person is completely speechless. Okay. At this moment, such a voice suddenly sounded from Ye Chen's door. Ye Chen, there is an army of alien beasts on the front line, and the Sword Saint will let you go. Ye Chen was stunned for a moment. My dear, everything is just right. Or did the demigod just know about the attack of the alien beast, so he sent him back? Understood. I'll go right now. Ye Chen responded to the door, putting his fingers on his forehead. He instantly captured the aura of the swordsman. Bei Junjian stood high in the sky, and the Linoop in front of him scared Bei Junjian to the point of shaking his hands hard for a while. MMP. How to fight this? 8 sacred beasts, and I have never seen one. Cow, rabbit, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, chicken, pig, it's all sanctuary. Why don't you fucking make up a zodiac sign? Rat, cow, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, monkey, chicken, dog, pig. Don't you say there was a space mouse before on the side of the Snow Queen, and the tiger on the other side point the fake dragon of the evil Flood King died, and the titanium alloy dog became Killin. Otherwise, these 12 zodiac signs can really get together. Bei Junjian was about to cry. I knew I would not be in front of me just now. Zhang Bingking and Ji Qianmeng went to guard the Ice Queen's side, while Zhang Zilei dealt with the three-headed Holy Land alone. But, has anyone considered me? In front of me, the 8-headed Holy Land. Look at that human. Is he planning to beat us alone? A flamboyant chicken suddenly said with a smile. Who knows? Isn't there anyone in the human race? The little rabbit on the side also joked. Bei Junjian said that he has never been so aggrieved in his life, and the huge body of the titan is what frightens Bei Junjian, the head of the 10,000 meter bull. Are you serious? Dapping bird is a joke compared to you. Hey, senior sword saint, here I come. Just when Bei Junjian fell into contemplation, Ye Chen's figure suddenly appeared. Bei Junjian's eyes widened. The savior came just in time. Ye Chen, you came just in time. The group of enemies in the back. Leave the strongest to me, and you can deal with the other trash. How about it? Bei Junjian firmly grabbed Ye Chen's shoulders, preventing Ye Chen from looking back at the enemy. Ye Chen was slightly taken aback. Is there such a good thing? Really? You are the strongest? I will be responsible for clearing the mobs. Certainly. Ye Chen confirmed it again. Is this true? Really? A gentleman's word. It's hard to chase a horse. The two smiled at each other and reached a consensus. Isn't it just cleaning up trash? I like it the most. Ye Chen turned around and said with a smile. When he looked back and saw the 8 alien beasts standing behind him, Ye Chen was stunned. I saw Ye Chen wiped his eyes and fixed his eyes again. The whole person was stupid and slowly turned back to stare at Bei Junjian. Bei Junjian smiled awkwardly. A gentleman is hard to chase after a word. Remember. Ye Chen's hands were shaking and his voice was a little hoarse. I jumped into the pit. I admit. However, I would like to ask, did you have any misunderstanding of the word trash fish? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.